Hey everyone, welcome back. Tonight we're diving into something particularly grim. The brutally short lives of medieval women. Forget the fairy tales about princesses in towers and noble ladies in silk gowns. The truth about medieval women's lives was darker, dirtier, and devastatingly brief. Most didn't make it past 35. Many died much younger. So before we begin this journey into female suffering, take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy these glimpses into history's darker corners. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing who's joining us from around the world. Now dim those lights, get comfortable, and let's explore why being born female in medieval times was basically a death sentence with extra steps. Congratulations, you've just been born a girl in the year 1347. The bad news starts immediately. You have about a 40% chance of dying before your 5th birthday. Not from anything dramatic, just the usual suspects: dysentery, smallpox, measles, whooping cough, or that mysterious fever that takes half the village children every winter. Your mother barely looks at you for the first week. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's learned not to get attached too quickly. She's already buried 3 daughters, their tiny graves marked with wooden crosses that rot faster than memory. You're swaddled in rough linen that's been used for your 4 dead siblings before you. It still smells faintly of decay, despite the washing. Your cradle is a wooden box near the fire, close enough to avoid freezing, far enough to avoid burning. Though plenty of infants manage both anyway. Your first meal is your mother's milk, assuming she survived your birth, which was a coin flip at best. If she didn't, you're getting sheep's milk, goat's milk, or whatever the wet nurse can provide. She's probably mourning her own dead baby while feeding you, her grief flavoring every drop. The wet nurse costs money your family doesn't have, so hopefully mother survived. But she's weak, bleeding, already back to work, because the harvest won't wait for her womb to heal. You cry constantly because you're hungry, cold, and covered in your own waste. Cloth diapers don't exist. You're wrapped in rags that get changed maybe twice a day, if someone remembers. The rash spreading across your bottom will be there until you learn to use the pot. Assuming you live that long. The house you're born into has 1 room, dirt floors, and walls that let in wind, rain, and occasionally rats. You share this palatial estate with your parents, 3 surviving siblings, grandmother who coughs blood, and whatever livestock could afford the luxury of shelter. The animals actually get priority because they're worth more than you. A dead cow is a disaster. A dead daughter is disappointingly common. Your value as a female infant is already being calculated. Can you survive long enough to work? Can you breed? Can you be married off for a pig or 2? Your brothers, even the sickly ones, matter more. They'll inherit whatever pathetic scraps your father calls land. They'll carry the family name, such as it is. You'll carry babies until your body gives out, probably around your 13th pregnancy. But first, you have to survive being an infant, which means dodging infanticide. Oh yes, that's a thing. Too many daughters and not enough food. Sometimes, babies just mysteriously stop breathing in the night. The priest calls it God's will. The neighbors call it practical. Your mother calls it nothing at all, just rocks another wooden cradle, and pretends not to understand why some infants thrive while others fade. Overlaying, they call it. when a baby accidentally gets smothered while co-sleeping. Happens all the time, especially to girls, especially during famines, especially when father's been drinking. No one investigates. No one asks questions. Baby girls disappear, and life continues its miserable march forward. You're lucky, though. Your parents decide to keep you, for now. Maybe because mother needs help with the spinning. Maybe because grandmother's cough sounds final. Maybe because they're too exhausted to commit murder. Whatever the reason, you've survived your first week. Only about 12,000 more days until you die in childbirth. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Your infancy is a masterclass in medieval neglect. Not malicious, just practical. Your mother has too much work and too many children to coddle you. You're strapped to a board to keep your spine straight while she works the fields. The straps cut into your soft skin, leaving marks that'll scar. But at least wolves can't drag you off while she's harvesting. You're fed when convenient, which isn't often. Your mother's milk dries up quickly because she's malnourished, overworked, and probably pregnant again already. You transition to pap, a disgusting gruel of bread soaked in water or ale, pre-chewed by whoever's around, then spat into your mouth like you're a baby bird. Sometimes it's moldy. Sometimes it's sour. Always, it's contaminated with whatever diseases your feeder carries. But it's calories, and calories keep you alive another day. By 6 months, you're eating adult food, which means hard bread, watery porridge, and whatever scraps fall your way. Your teeth haven't come in yet, but that doesn't matter. You gum the bread until it dissolves, swallow what you can, choke on what you can't. Your first word isn't mama or papa. It's probably a scream of hunger that never quite goes away. You learn to crawl through dirt, mixed with human waste, animal droppings, and things that crunch under your tiny hands. Every surface is contaminated. Every breath is infected air. Your immune system is either building strength or building toward collapse. Most lean toward collapse. The mortality statistics are brutal. 1 in 3 infants die before their first birthday. Another third won't see 5. By the time you reach reproductive age, if you do, your cohort of playmates will be mostly memories and tiny graves. Disease runs through your household like a seasonal guest. Scabies gives you bleeding sores. Rickets bends your bones. Worms colonize your intestines. Your hair falls out from malnutrition, grows back patchy and brittle. Your belly distends from parasites, while your limbs stay stick-thin from starvation. This is normal. This is childhood. This is why your mother doesn't name you properly until you've survived at least 2 winters. Why get attached to something so likely to die? Your survival past infancy isn't a celebration. It's a surprise. Your parents look at you reaching age 3 with genuine confusion. How did this one make it? Must be sturdy stock. Better put her to work before God changes his mind. And work you will, because medieval childhood for girls is just unpaid labor with fewer teeth. By age 4, you're no longer a baby. You're a tiny worker in a dress made from the roughest wool that makes your skin bleed when you move. Childhood for medieval girls lasts about as long as it takes to walk steadily. After that, you're just small labor. Your days begin before dawn, because everyone's days begin before dawn, but yours are special. As a girl, you get the privilege of double duty. The same back-breaking work as boys, plus all the domestic tasks they'll never touch. Your first job is fetching water. The well is 1/4 mile away, through mud that sucks at your bare feet. The bucket weighs almost as much as you do. You'll make this trip 6 times before breakfast, your tiny spine already curving from the weight. Spill any, and you'll be beaten. Not cruelly, just practically. Water is precious. You're replaceable. Next comes the spinning. Always the spinning. From age 4 until death, you'll spin thread every spare moment. While walking, while watching sheep, while eating, while nursing babies, probably while dying. Your fingers will be permanently cramped into claws by age 20, but that's years away. For now, they're just bleeding from the rough wool, developing calluses that'll never fade. Your mother teaches you to spin before she teaches you to pray. God can wait. The family needs thread now. You tend the chickens, which means fighting them for eggs while they peck your arms bloody. You milk the goat, who kicks you in the face at least once a week. You carry your baby brother on your hip while working, his weight grinding your bones together. He pisses down your side. No one cares. You're already filthy anyway. The garden is your responsibility too. Weeding, watering, harvesting. Your knees are permanently stained with dirt, embedded so deep it becomes part of your skin. You learn which plants heal, which plants kill, and which plants make you see demons. This knowledge will matter later when you're accused of witchcraft. But that's another horror for another day. Cooking starts young too. You're stirring the perpetual pot of pottage before you can see over its rim. Standing on a wobbly stool, smoke burning your eyes, sparks singeing your hair. Your arms are covered in burns from the pot, the fire, the bubbling mystery stew that's been continuously cooking since before you were born. Sometimes you recognize what's in it. Usually you don't. Always you eat it because the alternative is starvation. Your education consists of, don't do that, you'll die. Don't touch the Lord's deer, you'll be hanged. Don't eat the berries from that bush, you'll shit yourself to death. Don't look at the barren sun, you'll be raped. Don't speak during Mass, you'll be branded a heretic. Don't refuse your future husband, you'll be beaten until you can't. Every lesson is about avoiding death, which is everywhere, waiting, patient as winter. You can't read because girls don't need letters. You can't write because girls don't need thoughts. You can count to 10 because that's how many children you'll birth if you're lucky. Or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. Your mathematical education ends at calculating how many eggs the chickens should lay versus how many father drinks at the tavern. The difference is always beaten out of your hide. Playing is what you do while working. You sing while spinning, tell stories while weeding, dance while churning. Your dolls are corn husks, wrapped in scraps. Your games are practicing for your future. Playing house means pretending to give birth, while your friends pretend you're dying. It's hilarious, until it's real. By 7, you know which of your friends will die first. The wheezing one won't survive winter. The limping one won't survive childbirth. The pretty one won't survive the Lord's Son. You're none of these things, so maybe you'll make it to 20. Maybe. Your childhood ends the first time you bleed, sometimes at 10, sometimes at 14. Whenever it happens, that's when you transform from child laborer to breeding stock. Your mother explains nothing, except that you're cursed now, like Eve. And this bloody punishment will continue until you dry up or die. She teaches you how to manage the changes in your body, how to hide the discomfort, how to keep working, no matter what. There's no rest, not even when pain makes you dizzy, because duty doesn't pause for anyone. And now, everyone notices you differently. The men in the village start to talk. The conversations aren't about love or affection. They're about alliances, dowries, and family advantage. Your father begins to receive offers that sound less like proposals and more like business arrangements. You serve drinks and try to avoid the eyes that judge your worth like merchants at a market. You're still just a child, but childhood is ending. From this point on, your life will be a series of lessons. How to endure, how to serve, how to survive. You'll learn what's expected of a woman in your world. To work without complaint, to bear pain with grace, and to carry generations of silence on your shoulders. Your teenage years start with blood. First menstruation, then everything else. Your mother sits you down, if she's still alive, and explains your purpose in life. You exist to breed, to work, and to suffer quietly. That's it. That's the entire instruction manual for medieval womanhood. She teaches you the things that matter. How to birth a baby in a field and keep working. How to miscarry silently, so your husband doesn't beat you for failing. How to recognize which pregnancy will kill you, though there's nothing you can do about it anyway. These lessons are delivered while you're both working, always working. She's showing you how to prepare the herbs that might ease labor pains or might kill you if you take too much. The line is thin and changes with desperation. You learn to make the pessaries that might prevent pregnancy, though using them is a sin that'll send you to hell. Your mother whispers about the times between fertility, counting days on her ruined fingers. But she's had 11 children, so clearly the method isn't foolproof. You watch her pregnant again at 40, knowing this one will probably kill her. She knows it too. She's already showing you where she wants to be buried. The real education is watching. You watch the neighbor girl die screaming in childbirth, the baby stuck sideways. You watch the miller's wife bleed out after her 10th delivery. You watch the priest's sister, though everyone pretends not to know that's who she is, drink the special tea that makes her bleed for days until she's empty. You watch and learn and understand that this will be you soon. Your skills as a woman are measured in endurance. Can you work through labor pains? Can you nurse a baby while cooking? Can you pleasure your husband even when everything hurts? Can you pretend to be happy when you're dying inside? These are the talents that matter. Your mother teaches you remedies that barely work. Cobwebs for bleeding, though they mostly just cause infection. Ergot for difficult births, though too much causes convulsions. Prayer for everything else, though God seems particularly deaf to women's screams. She shows you how to examine yourself, checking for tears that won't heal, prolapse that won't reverse, infections that won't clear. These examinations are done in secret, in shame, because your body is sinful, even when it's dying. You're taught to recognize the signs of pregnancy early, not for joy, but for planning. How many months before you can't work? How many weeks before you're too swollen to hide it? How many days before you need to prepare for death? Because every pregnancy could be your last, and everyone knows it. The mortality rate for childbirth is so high that getting pregnant is essentially playing Russian roulette with God. Your education includes the lies you'll need to tell. How to fake virginity on your wedding night with chicken blood. How to pretend your husband's impotence is your barrenness. How to hide bruises with mud and ash. How to smile when you're screaming inside. These are crucial skills for survival. Your mother is dying as she teaches you, worn down by babies and beatings. But she keeps working, keeps teaching, keeps breathing somehow. This is your education. Watching her disappear a little more each day. Soon you'll be married, probably to someone you've never met. Your education in suffering is about to become practical experience. But first, you need to survive the marriage market, where you're examined like livestock and sold to the highest bidder, or the only bidder, or whoever your father owes money to. Romance isn't part of the curriculum. Your marriage is being negotiated while you're still losing baby teeth. Your father, or whoever owns you if father's dead, is calculating your worth. Can you breed? Can you work? Are you docile enough to not cause problems? These are the questions that determine your fate. You're 12, maybe 14, if your father's soft, when the deal is struck. The man who'll own you is usually older, often a widower, who's already buried one or two wives. Their ghosts haunt the house you'll soon call home. The betrothal ceremony is a business transaction with prayers. You stand there in your least stained dress while men discuss your transfer like you're a cow. Your dowry, if your family has anything to give, might be a pot, some linens, maybe a goat. In return, your husband gets your body, your labor, your future children, and the right to beat you when you disappoint him, which will be often. You don't speak during the negotiations. Your opinion is as relevant as the goat's. Less relevant, actually. The goat probably costs more. The contract is sealed with ale. You're not allowed to drink, and bread. You're too nervous to swallow. Your future husband looks at you like he's calculating how many children you can produce before you break. The answer is usually 7 to 10. If you're sturdy, your wedding day arrives like an execution date. You're dressed in borrowed finery that doesn't fit, flowers in your hair to hide that it's falling out from malnutrition. The church ceremony is in Latin you don't understand, promising things you can't comprehend to a man you don't know. Your consent is assumed. Actually, your consent is irrelevant. You could be screaming no, and the ceremony would continue. Some brides do scream. They're married anyway. The priest declares you one flesh, which means your body is no longer yours. Not that it ever really was. You're transferred from your father's property to your husband's, like a deed to land. The celebration afterward isn't for you. It's for everyone else. You sit silently while drunk men make jokes about your wedding night, about breeding, about breaking you in like a horse. Your mother, if she's there, says nothing, just drinks her ale and remembers her own wedding day, probably at the same age, probably just as terrified. The female relatives whisper advice. Lie still, don't fight. It'll hurt less if you don't resist. Think of something else. Pray if it helps. Bleed quietly. Clean yourself after. Don't cry where he can see. This is love, medieval style. The sun sets, and everyone knows what comes next. The bedding ceremony, where you're stripped and inspected one final time before being delivered to your husband's bed like a sacrifice. Some villages make a celebration of it, carrying you both to bed while singing bawdy songs. Others just shove you into a room and close the door. Either way, your childhood is about to end in the worst possible way. Your wedding night is your introduction to obedience disguised as holiness. That's not how they describe it, of course. You're a wife now. Your body no longer your own. Your choices absorbed into his authority. You're barely grown, frightened, and told that this is your purpose. To serve, to continue the family line. He's older, stronger, and convinced that power is his birthright. Your fear is expected, your silence required. The ritual is swift, impersonal, and leaves you trembling in its aftermath. The marks it leaves aren't visible, but they will last for the rest of your life. You lie there, staring into the dark, trying to understand what just happened, and realizing it wasn't death that came for you tonight, but a lifetime of endurance disguised as duty. Tomorrow, the sheets will be displayed, your blood proof of virginity, his conquest celebrated with more ale. The women will check on you, clucking sympathetically while examining the damage. Too much tearing? Walk it off. Can't stop bleeding? Pack it with wool and pray. Can't walk? Too bad. There's work to do. Your new life begins immediately. You're managing his household now, cooking, cleaning, spinning, weaving, brewing, gardening, all while learning his particular ways of cruelty. Does he prefer hitting or humiliation? Does he beat you for silence or for speaking? Does he want submission or struggle? You learn quickly or suffer more. Sex becomes routine horror. Every night he can. Some mornings too. You develop strategies. Pretend illness, though that might earn a beating. Claim menstruation, though he might not care. Get pregnant quickly, though that brings different horrors. You learn to disappear without leaving, to drift somewhere far away while duty takes its toll. You think about the garden, the spinning wheel, the sky, anything that doesn't hurt. Some women find ways to dull their suffering, whispering old remedies when no one's listening. Others quietly pray for small illnesses that might earn them rest. Most simply endure, staring at the ceiling, surviving one night at a time. Your body begins to change faster than it should. Exhaustion seeps into your bones. The ache never leaves. By 14, you feel twice your age, worn down by expectation and silence. Then comes the next trial, pregnancy. It arrives early, uninvited, and without mercy. You're still working from dawn till dark, still expected to serve, still forced to smile. Every morning, you wake wondering if this child will end you. And every night you pray to make it through one more day. Because in this world, survival isn't living. It's simply not dying yet. Pregnancy arrives like a sentence, not a celebration. You feel it before anyone says a word. The exhaustion, the heaviness, the quiet knowing that your life has just grown shorter. You're barely more than a child yourself, yet your body is already carrying another. The sickness begins early, but rest isn't an option. You bend over fields and fires, trembling through the nausea, wiping your mouth and continuing the work. Your husband's expectations don't change. You still serve, still obey, still fulfill every duty placed upon you. Pregnancy is not a reprieve. It's simply another task added to the list. Everything hurts, everything feels wrong, but complaint is dangerous, pain is expected, silence is praised. So you keep moving, keep serving, and call it blessed, because that's what you've been told it must be. The baby grows and your body deforms. Your spine curves backward, your hips spread and crack, your feet swell until walking is agony. Varicose veins snake up your legs like purple rivers. Hemorrhoids make sitting torture. Your teeth loosen from the baby, stealing your calcium. Some will fall out. They won't grow back. You piss yourself when you sneeze. Shit yourself when the baby kicks wrong. Your husband finds you repulsive now, but still demands his rights. He just makes you get on all fours so he doesn't have to see your swollen belly. Your livestock anyway. Might as well be mounted like it. Work continues, because it has to. You're 9 months pregnant, harvesting grain in the field, when your water breaks. It mixes with sweat and dirt as you keep working, knowing you have maybe hours before the real pain starts. The midwife is called if you're lucky. If not, it's just you and whoever's around. Your mother-in-law who hates you, your sister-in-law who's next, maybe a neighbor who's buried 3 daughters this way. They've all seen birth, they've all seen death. They can't really tell the difference anymore. Labor is hell designed specifically for women. The pain is beyond description. Waves of agony that make you wish for death. You scream until your throat bleeds, bite through leather straps, claw gouges in your own thighs. This can last days. Days of contractions that feel like your body is ripping apart from inside. Because it is. The baby might be breech, coming feet first, might be sideways, arm dangling out while the head stays stuck. Might be too big for your child-sized pelvis. Might already be dead, rotting inside you. The midwife's tools are primitive. Dirty hands that spread infection. Hooks to pull the baby out in pieces if necessary. Knives to cut you open if you're dying anyway. No anesthesia except maybe strong ale or biting a stick. No antibiotics for the childbed fever that kills 1 in 3. No surgical precision, just desperate hacking to save the baby. You're expendable. If you survive the birth, you're not done. The afterbirth has to come. If it doesn't, you rot from inside. If it tears away wrong, you bleed out. If pieces stay behind, you get sepsis. The midwife reaches inside you, her filthy fingernails scraping your raw insides, pulling out clots and tissue while you scream. Then comes the bleeding. So much bleeding. They pack you with rags that turn red immediately. Change them. They turn red again. Your heartbeat gets fast and thin. Your skin goes cold. Everyone knows this sign. You're dying. But there's nothing to do except pray and keep packing rags into your body. Sometimes the bleeding stops. Usually it doesn't. You have maybe a 50-50 chance of surviving your first birth. The odds get worse with each pregnancy. By your 10th, if you make it that far, everyone assumes you're dead already. You just haven't stopped breathing yet. But let's say you survived this one. Congratulations. You now have a newborn who needs constant feeding from your infected nipples, a body that's destroyed, and a husband who's angry you're not ready to breed again yet. You get maybe 6 weeks before he starts using you again. 6 weeks to heal from the worst trauma your body can survive. It's not enough. It's never enough. But your body isn't yours, remember. It belongs to God, your husband, and the babies that will eventually kill you. You've survived birth? Barely. Now you have screaming infant attached to your bleeding nipples every 2 hours. Your breasts are infected, cracked, potentially obsessed. Each feeding is agony, but formula doesn't exist, and wet nurses cost money. So you grit your teeth and let the baby tear at your raw flesh, hoping you produce enough milk to keep it alive. You don't rest, can't rest. The house still needs managing. Your husband still needs feeding. The animals still need tending. You strap the baby to your chest and work through exhaustion so complete you hallucinate. Sometimes you drop things. Sometimes you drop the baby. Sometimes the baby dies from being dropped, or from sudden infant death, or from the 1,000 diseases waiting to claim it. When the baby dies, and at least half will, you have maybe a day to grieve. Then you bury it in the churchyard if it was baptized, or somewhere darker if it wasn't. You wrap the tiny corpse in whatever cloth you can spare, dig a hole with your broken fingernails, and pretend to move on. Your husband sees dead babies as failure. Your failure. Why can't you keep them alive? Why can't you make healthy ones? Why are you so useless? The beating helps him feel better about his dead legacy. You take it silently, already pregnant again, because your body betrays you like that. This pregnancy will be harder, because you're still recovering from the last one. Your uterus hasn't shrunk, your bones haven't realigned, your tears haven't healed. But biology doesn't care. You're fertile, so you conceive. The cycle continues. Pregnancy, birth, death, pregnancy, birth, death. Your body accumulates damage like battle scars. Prolapsed uterus that hangs between your legs. Rectovaginal fistulas that make you leak feces. Chronic pain that never stops. Infections that never fully clear. You're 25 and look 50. You've buried 4 children, birthed 7, currently pregnant with the 8th. Your body is a cemetery of reproductive horror. Your surviving children watch you disappear piece by piece. Your daughters know they're looking at their future. Your sons thank God they were born male. You teach them all you can between contractions and miscarriages. How to tend wounds, birth babies, prepare bodies for burial. These are the skills that matter. Your knowledge is practical, brutal, and absolutely necessary. Every pregnancy might bring twins, which doubles your chance of dying. Might bring deformity, which means the baby dies slowly while you watch. Might bring another girl, which means your husband's disappointment and another future sufferer. Might bring death, which honestly might be mercy at this point. You don't hope anymore. Hope is for people whose bodies aren't graveyards. You just endure. Another baby, another burial, another pregnancy. The wheel turns and you're ground beneath it, but you keep breathing somehow until you don't. The final pregnancy arrives when you're 30 if you're lucky, younger if you're not. You know it's the last one because your body tells you. Everything feels different, wrong, final. You've been pregnant so many times you recognize death when it takes root in your womb. You keep working because what else is there? But you start preparing, showing your oldest daughter where the herbs are hidden, teaching your son to be gentle with his future wife, making peace with a God who's tortured you for decades. You go into labor knowing you won't survive it. Everyone knows. Your husband is already eyeing the miller's daughter. The midwife arrives, but her face says what everyone's thinking. This one's already over. You labor for 3 days. The baby is stuck. Your pelvis is deformed from previous births, and your body has nothing left to give. You bleed and scream and shit yourself, and finally, mercifully, slide into unconsciousness. They cut the baby out of your corpse, trying to save something from this massacre. Sometimes the baby lives. Usually it doesn't. Either way, you're done. Dead at 32, if anyone bothered to count your years. They bury you quickly before you start to smell worse. No elaborate funeral, just a hole, some prayers, and everyone moving on. Your husband remarries within months. Your children forget your face within a year. Your grave marker rots within 5. You disappear completely, like you never existed. Another medieval woman, ground to dust by life's machinery. But let's say you somehow survive childbearing years. Let's say you're one of the miraculous few who makes it to menopause. What rewards await you for this superhuman endurance? Spoiler: none. You're just old now, which in medieval terms means you're a witch waiting to happen. But we'll get to that. First, let's talk about the middle years, that sweet spot between breeding age and accusation age, where you're just trying to survive each day without bleeding to death. You're 28, and you've already outlived most of your friends. Your body is a map of reproductive disasters, stretch marks like claw scratches, breasts hanging empty and scarred, belly still swollen from your last pregnancy that ended in a stillbirth. You're not young anymore, not old yet, just worn out and waiting. Your husband still uses you, but less frequently. His interest has moved to younger flesh. Maybe a servant girl, maybe your own daughter, if he's that type of monster. You're grateful for the reprieve. Every night he doesn't touch you is a night you might not get pregnant. You've learned to make yourself unappealing. Not bathing, leaving your hair greasy, letting your teeth rot. Anything to avoid his attention. Your daily life is endless labor. You manage a household that barely functions, stretch food that doesn't exist, mend clothes that are more whole than fabric. Your fingers are arthritic from spinning. Your back is permanently bent from carrying. Your joints grind like millstones, but you're still the strong one. Your surviving children depend on you. Your husband expects service. Your community demands participation. You're the keeper of birth and death knowledge, called when neighbors go into labor, summoned when fever strikes. You've seen enough death to recognize its signatures. The sweet smell that means infection, the rattling breath that means pneumonia, the swollen neck that means plague. You know which deaths are quick, which are slow, which make people scream until their voices break. Your medical knowledge is part herb lore, part superstition, part desperate experimentation. You know pennyroyal causes miscarriage, but might also cause death. You know ergot helps with bleeding, but too much causes madness. You know prayers don't work, but you say them anyway. 'Cause what else is there? This knowledge makes you valuable, but also suspicious. Every remedy that works is evidence of wisdom. Every remedy that fails is evidence of witchcraft. You walk a tightrope between healer and heretic, knowing that one bad outcome, one angry accusation, and you're burning at the stake. The middle years are also when your daughters start bleeding, and you watch your nightmare begin again in their bodies. You try to protect them, teaching them the tricks that might save them, how to fake barrenness to delay marriage, how to prevent pregnancy without anyone knowing, how to miscarry safely if prevention fails. But you know it's useless. They'll be married off, just like you were, bred like you were, and probably die like you almost did. Your sons you try to teach mercy, though the world teaches them ownership. You tell them women are human, though law says otherwise. You beg them to be gentle with their wives, knowing they probably won't be. The cycle continues, and you're powerless to stop it. Menopause approaches like a double-edged sword. Freedom from pregnancy, but also freedom from value. Once you can't breed, what good are you? Your husband might keep you for your labor, might discard you for someone fertile, might just let you exist in the corners of his life, like furniture. But at least your womb is finally yours, empty and angry and done. The hot flashes start, waves of heat that drench you in sweat while everyone else freezes. Your periods become irregular, sometimes flooding, sometimes disappearing for months. When they finally stop for good, you feel relief so profound, it might be mistaken for happiness. You're 45, ancient in medieval terms, and finally free from the terror of conception. But freedom comes with a price. Now you're a crone, a hag, a suspicious old woman who knows too much and breeds too little. The same healing knowledge that made you valuable now makes you dangerous. Every sick cow, failed crop, or dead baby might be your fault. Did someone see you gathering herbs under the full moon? Witchcraft. Did you mutter under your breath? Cursing. Did you look at someone wrong? Evil eye. The accusations start small. Gossip, whispers, suspicious looks. But they build like thunderclouds. You're old, you're ugly, you're alone. Perfect witch material. You try to fade into the background, but invisibility is suspicious too. Why are you hiding? What are you planning? The young women you've helped birth babies now cross themselves when they see you. The children you've nursed through fever throw stones at your back. Your own family distances themselves, afraid of guilt by association. You're not a witch, but that doesn't matter. Being accused is the same as being guilty. The trial, if you get one, is a joke. They'll strip you, searching for devil's marks. Any mole, birthmark, or scar is evidence. They'll throw you in water. Float and you're a witch. Sink and you're dead anyway. They'll torture you until you confess to flying, to eating babies, to fornicating with Satan himself. You'll say anything to make the pain stop. Then they'll burn you, slowly if the wood is green, and everyone will cheer because the witch is dead, and surely the crops will grow better now. But let's say you avoid accusation. Let's say you're one of the incredibly lucky few who makes it to actual old age. What then? You're 50, maybe even 60, a medieval miracle. Your body is destroyed but still functioning. Your mind is sharp, but no one listens. You've survived everything. Childhood diseases, childbirth, infections, violence, accusations, and you're still breathing. Why? Spite, mostly. You're too angry to die, too tired to care. You've outlived your husband, thank God. He died of something disgusting, choking on his own vomit, or rotting from the inside out. You didn't mourn. You didn't even pretend. You just dragged his corpse to the church and got on with your life. Now you're a widow, which is actually the best status a medieval woman can have. You're no longer property. You can own things, make contracts, run a business. You have more freedom at 50 than you had at 15. If you have property, you guard it viciously. Sons try to claim it. Neighbors try to steal it. The church tries to guilt you into donating it. You trust no one. You sleep with a knife under your pillow and a club by your door. You've survived too much to be murdered for a few chickens and a leaky roof Your body is a catalogue of damage. Every bone has been broken, at least once. Every joint screams constantly. Your organs are falling out, held in place by rags and determination. You can't see well, can't hear much, can't walk without a stick. But you're still alive, which is more than you can say for almost everyone you've ever known. You spend your days doing what you've always done, spinning, weaving, tending whatever scraggly garden still produces. But now you do it for yourself, at your own pace, without fear of beating or breeding. It's the closest thing to peace you've ever known. Death watches you constantly. You feel it in every labored breath, every skipped heartbeat. Every morning, you wake up surprised. You're still here. It'll come soon, probably from something mundane. A cut that goes septic, a cough that becomes pneumonia, a fall that breaks your hip. You're not afraid. You've been dying since the day you were born. At least now you can do it on your own terms. You prepare your own shroud because you trust no one else to do it right. You choose your burial spot, pay the priest in advance because your children will pocket the money otherwise. You distribute what little you have, mostly to other women who'll need it more than your useless sons. You tell stories to anyone who'll listen, mostly lies, because the truth is too horrible. Even for you, when death finally comes, you greet it like an old friend. You've earned this rest, 63 years of suffering, and finally you get to stop. Your last breath is relief. Your last thought is probably, it's about fucking time. They bury you without ceremony, just another old woman returning to the dirt. Your grave is unmarked, because headstones cost money, and you're worth less than stone. Within a generation, no one remembers your name. Within 2, no one remembers you existed. You disappear completely, like millions of medieval women before and after you. But your suffering, that continues in every woman born after you, inherited like a curse that won't break for centuries. Let's talk about food, or more accurately, the lack of it. As a medieval woman, you eat last and least. The hierarchy is simple. Men first, children second. If there's enough, you get whatever's left. Usually that's nothing but scraps, and the privilege of watching others eat. Your daily bread is more sawdust than grain, bulked out with ground acorns, beans, or whatever won't kill you immediately. It's black, hard as stone, and tastes like disappointment. You gnaw on it while cooking meat you'll never taste, brewing ale you'll rarely drink, churning butter that'll never touch your lips. Your nutrition is whatever you can steal while cooking, licking spoons, tasting for poison, they say, but really just trying to survive. Vegetables from your garden, when they grow, when they're not destroyed by weather, when the Lord doesn't claim them as tax. Cabbage, turnips, onions, the holy trinity of peasant survival. You eat them raw, boiled, fermented, rotten. Whatever state they're in when hunger wins over disgust. Protein is a fairy tale. A meat belongs to men and nobles. You might taste it at Christmas if your husband's feeling generous. Otherwise, it's just the smell of it cooking for others while your stomach eats itself. Sometimes you catch rats. Tell yourself it's rabbit. Sometimes you find dead birds. Cook them before they rot completely. Sometimes you eat things that crawl and slither, because protein is protein, and you're dying slowly anyway. During pregnancy, you crave meat, iron, anything substantial. Instead, you get the same gruel, the same bread, the same nothing. Your babies are born weak because you're weak. They die because you're starving. You blame yourself because everyone else does. Fasting days are a joke. How can you fast from food you don't have? But the church demands it anyway. No meat, no dairy, no eggs. So you eat bread and water, pretending it's different from every other day. Your stomach doesn't know the difference between religious fasting and regular starvation. During famines, which happen every few years, you don't eat at all. You feed your children grass soup, boiled leather, tree bark ground into paste. You watch them starve while your milk dries up, while your body consumes itself, while your husband hoards the last grain for himself. You learn which weeds are edible, which mushrooms might kill you quickly versus slowly. You learn to catch frogs, to dig for roots, to make soup from bones that have been boiled a dozen times already. You compete with animals for acorns. You fight other women for scraps. You do things you'll never speak of just for a handful of grain. Your teeth fall out from malnutrition. Your hair turns orange, then falls out too. Your nails stop growing. Your periods stop. Small mercy. Can't get pregnant when you're starving. But they'll start again when the harvest comes, if it comes, and then you're back to breeding while malnourished. When you cook for others, you taste everything, saying you're checking for seasoning. Really, you're trying to get a few calories before serving food to people who aren't dying of hunger. You hide crumbs in your sleeves, in your mouth, saving them for later when everyone's asleep. You teach your daughters the same tricks, how to eat quickly, silently, without being caught, how to hide food in their clothes, their hair, their bodies, how to vomit quietly if they eat something spoiled, how to ignore the pain of an empty stomach. These are essential survival skills. You develop diseases of malnutrition, scurvy that makes your gums bleed and your wounds won't heal, rickets that bends your bones, pellagra that drives you mad. But no one knows these names. They just call it women's weakness and tell you to pray harder. Water is another luxury. The well water is contaminated with human waste, animal droppings, and corpse runoff from the cemetery. But it's what you have, so you drink it and hope the dysentery isn't fatal this time. Ale is safer, but costs money. So you drink bad water, get sick, lose more nutrients to diarrhea, get weaker, get sicker. The cycle continues. You're always thirsty, always hungry, always empty. Your body is eating itself to keep breathing. You weigh maybe 80 pounds soaking wet. Your bones show through your skin like a skeleton wearing a loose dress. You're 30, but look 60. Hunger has aged you into a crone. When you finally die, it might actually be from starvation. Not dramatic starvation, just the slow kind that takes years. Your body finally runs out of itself to eat. Your organs shut down one by one. Your heart, working too hard for too long on nothing, finally stops. They find you dead in the kitchen, still trying to prepare food you were never allowed to eat. Your family is annoyed because now who'll cook? They bury you quickly and find another woman to starve in your place. This is food in medieval times for women. The absence of it, the longing for it, the dying from lack of it. Every meal you don't eat is another day off your already short life. But at least you're keeping the men fed, and isn't that what matters? Now, let's talk about violence, the other daily bread of medieval women. Because if starvation doesn't kill you, brutality might. Your husband owns you, legally and completely. He can beat you for any reason or no reason. Too much salt in his food. Beating. Not enough salt. Beating. Speaking. Beating. Not speaking. Beating. The law says he can discipline you with a stick no thicker than his thumb. How merciful. But no one's measuring sticks when he's drunk, and you exist wrong. You learn to read his moods like weather patterns. The way he breathes when violence is building. The set of his shoulders when you should disappear. The particular silence that means tonight will be bad. But there's nowhere to run. This is your home, your prison, your eventual grave. The beatings are creative. Not just fists, though there are plenty of those. Hot pokers from the fire, leather straps, wooden clubs, whatever's handy when rage takes him. He's careful to hit, where bruises won't show. Usually, can't have the neighbors thinking he can't control his property. But sometimes, he forgets to be careful. And you go to church with blackened eyes, split lips, teeth missing. Everyone sees. No one says anything. It's not their business how a man disciplines his wife. You learn to curl into a ball, protecting your stomach if you're pregnant, your head if you're not. You learn which bones break easiest, which injuries heal fastest, which positions hurt least. You develop a high pain tolerance because the alternative is death. Sometimes he doesn't stop when you go limp. Sometimes he keeps going until something breaks permanently. Sometimes you don't get back up. If you fight back, it's worse, legal worse. A woman who strikes her husband can be burned alive. So you take it, absorb it, endure it. You teach your daughters to do the same. Duck, cover, survive. Don't give him reasons, though he'll find them anyway. This is love, medieval style. But domestic violence is just the appetizer. There's also community violence, judicial violence, religious violence, all specifically designed for women who step out of line. Talk too much? Scold's bridle, an iron mask that drives spikes through your tongue. Suspected of adultery? Stripped naked and paraded through town while people throw rotten food and stones. Accused of theft? Hand chopped off, cauterized with a hot iron while you scream. The village treats you as entertainment. Your pain is their afternoon amusement. Public punishments are festivals. Families bring picnics to watch you suffer. Children throw things. Men make jokes. Women watch silently, knowing it could be them next. And then there's sexual violence, so common it doesn't have a name. It's just what happens to women. Your husband's right to your body is absolute. Consent doesn't exist as a concept. You're taken whenever, however, for as long as he wants. Fighting makes it worse. Compliance makes it quicker. You learn to go somewhere else in your mind while it happens. The ceiling has 12 cracks. The wall has a water stain shaped like a bird. These details matter more than what's happening to your body. But it's not just your husband. His friends might want a turn if he owes them money. The Lord might claim first night rights, an old tradition where he gets to rape you on your wedding night. Soldiers passing through take what they want. Priests extract sexual payment for absolution. Every man is a potential rapist, and the law is on their side. If you're raped by someone other than your husband, you're the criminal. Adulteress, temptress, whore. The punishment is usually death, though sometimes they're merciful and just brand your face, cut off your nose, or lock you in a nunnery forever. Your rapist might pay a fine to your husband for damaging his property. That's what passes for justice. You learn to make yourself invisible, ugly, worthless, anything. to avoid attention. You walk with your head down, speak in whispers, exist as little as possible. But sometimes, existing at all is too much provocation. Sometimes, breathing while female is a crime. The violence follows you everywhere. In the fields where you're working alone. In the church where the priest corners you. In your own bed where your husband's violence and sex are indistinguishable. You're never safe. Safety doesn't exist for medieval women. Every day you survive without being beaten, raped, or murdered is a miracle. You thank God for these miracles while wondering why he made the world this way. But questioning God is heresy, and heresy is burned. So you keep your doubts silent like everything else. You endure because the alternative is death. Though honestly, sometimes death seems like the better option. Let's discuss your clothing, those rags that barely qualify as fabric. You own 2 dresses if you're lucky. One for working, which is always, and one for church, which is just your work dress with fewer stains. Both are made from the roughest wool that makes your skin bleed, or linen so coarse it feels like wearing sandpaper. The color is whatever dirt and sweat and blood have dyed it over the years. Brown, gray, the color of hopelessness. Fashion is for nobles. You get function, barely. Your dress hangs like a sack because tailoring costs money, and you're not worth it. It's either too big, swimming on your starved frame, or too small, splitting at the seams when you're pregnant. There's no in-between. You patch holes with whatever fabric you can find. Your dress becomes a quilt of poverty, each patch a memory of something else that fell apart. Undergarments are a theoretical concept. Maybe a shift, if you're fortunate, made from linen so rough it scrapes your nipples raw. Most likely, nothing. Just your dress against your skin, absorbing sweat, blood, milk, and other fluids that leak from your body constantly. You wash it maybe twice a year, if you're ambitious. Washing means beating it against rocks in the river. The same river where everyone dumps their waste. The dress comes back dirtier than it started, now with added dysentery. You wear it wet because you don't have another one to change into. In winter, you might have a cloak. It's just a blanket with delusions, held together by hope and a wooden pin. It doesn't keep you warm, just slightly less frozen. Your feet are bare because shoes are for people who matter. In winter, you wrap them in rags, creating foot-shaped bundles that soak through immediately. Your toes turn black from frostbite. Some fall off. You keep walking because stopping means dying. Summer isn't better. The wool dress becomes an oven, cooking you slowly. You sweat through it until it's transparent, clinging to your body, revealing everything you're trying to hide. Men stare. Women judge. You pull it away from your skin, but it sticks like shame. Head coverings are mandatory. Not for warmth or protection, but for morality. Your hair is sinful, apparently. It must be hidden under a piece of linen that's more whole than fabric. It does nothing except make you hotter in summer, provide homes for lice, and mark you as property. Married women cover their hair completely. Unmarried girls can show a little, advertising their availability. Widows wear specific veils so everyone knows they're used goods. Your clothes never fit right during pregnancy. They stretch and tear as your belly grows. You add panels of stolen fabric, creating Frankenstein maternity wear that still doesn't cover everything. Your breasts leak milk through the wool. Your belly hangs out the bottom. You're obscene and modest simultaneously. After birth, the dress never recovers. It hangs wrong, stained with birth blood that never washes out. You wear your reproductive history like a uniform. Each stain tells a story. This brown spot is from your firstborn who lived 3 days. This tear is from your 3rd pregnancy that nearly killed you. This patch is from burying your 5th child. You sleep in your clothes because night is colder than day and blankets are theoretical. You work in your clothes, sweat in your clothes, bleed in your clothes, die in your clothes. They become part of your body, a second skin made of misery and wool. When you die, if your family can afford it, you get a shroud. It's just a clean sheet, the first clean thing you've worn in decades. If they can't afford it, you're buried in your dress, the same one you've worn for years. It rots with you, becoming soil like everything else. Your daughters inherit your other dress, if it's still wearable. They'll patch it with pieces of their own poverty, continuing the tradition. Clothing isn't fashion for medieval women. It's just another layer of suffering, wrapped around your body like chains. Now let's examine hygiene, or more accurately, the complete absence of it. Bathing is basically a death wish. The church says it leads to sin, doctors say it causes disease, and practically speaking, it's impossible anyway. You might wash your face and hands once a week if you're feeling fancy. The rest of your body hasn't seen water since that time you fell in the river. You clean yourself with dry rubbing, using rough cloth to move the dirt around until it's evenly distributed. This accomplishes nothing except irritating your already damaged skin. Your hair is its own ecosystem. Lice, fleas, and things you can't identify have built civilizations in there. You scratch constantly, opening wounds that never heal, creating scabs that become permanent features. You might wash your hair twice a year, using lye that burns your scalp and leaves your hair like straw. Most of it falls out anyway, from malnutrition and constant pregnancy. So, why bother? Between your legs is a horror show. Menstrual blood, sexual fluids, discharge from various infections, all mixing into a smell that could wake the dead. You stuff rags up there during your period, the same rags you've used for years. You wash them in cold water when you remember, but they're permanently stained and smell like death. No one teaches you about infection, about bacteria, about basic cleanliness. You just accept that your vagina is constantly burning, itching, or leaking something horrifying. That's just womanhood. Your teeth are rotting stumps. You clean them by rubbing with a dirty finger. Maybe some salt if you're rich. Most are loose from scurvy, black from decay, or already gone. Your breath smells like an open grave, because essentially your mouth is dying one tooth at a time. You kiss your children with this mouth. You eat with this mouth. You scream through childbirth with this mouth. It's all infected, all the time. Waste management is another nightmare. You shit in a bucket if you're lucky, outside if you're not. Wiping is done with leaves, straw, or your hand, which you maybe rinse in the same water you drink. You're constantly spreading feces everywhere you touch. No wonder everyone's always dying of mysterious stomach ailments. Your fingernails are black with permanent dirt. You use them to prepare food, deliver babies, treat wounds. Every scratch is potential death from infection. Your feet are worse, caked in layers of dirt so thick it's become part of your skin, cracked and bleeding, infected with fungus, missing toes from frostbite or injury. You haven't seen your actual foot color in years. Wounds never heal properly because you're always dirty. A small cut becomes infected, spreads, might take your arm or your life. You treat it with cobwebs and prayer, maybe some moldy bread if you've heard that helps. It doesn't. The infection gets worse. You either survive through pure luck or die from blood poisoning. The smell of medieval women is unforgettable. Sweat, blood, milk, infection, decay, and despair, all mixed into a unique perfume of suffering. You can smell another woman's pregnancy, her fear, her infections. Everyone smells like death, approaching at different speeds. You try to cover it with herbs, crushing lavender into your clothes, hanging rosemary in your hair. It doesn't help. You just smell like death garnished with flowers. Your body is a walking plague factory. You're spreading and catching diseases constantly. Typhoid, cholera, plague, tuberculosis, all thriving in the filth that is your existence. But here's the thing. You don't know you're dirty. This is normal. Everyone lives like this. The nobility might bathe once a month, but you'll never know that. You think this is just how humans exist, covered in shit, blood, and hopelessness. When you die, they'll wash your corpse more thoroughly than you were ever washed alive. Finally clean for your burial, as if God cares about hygiene when you're already dead. Your daughters will inherit your filth, along with everything else. The cycle of unwashed misery continues until someone invents soap and human rights, but that's centuries away. For now, you rot while still alive, a walking reminder that medieval hygiene wasn't just bad, it was actively homicidal. Disease is your constant companion. Not metaphorically, literally. You're always sick with something. If it's not the bloody flux, it's the sweating sickness. If it's not consumption, it's childbed fever. Your body is a battlefield, and disease is winning. Let's start with the plague. Everyone's favorite medieval death. It arrives in waves, killing a third of everyone you know each time. The buboes appear in your groin, armpits, neck, black swellings full of blood and pus. You burn with fever while freezing with chills. You vomit blood, shit blood, sweat blood. Your fingers and toes turn black and rot off while you're still alive. You might last 3 days, maybe 5, if God really hates you. There's no treatment except prayer and bloodletting, which just makes you die faster. Your family abandons you because fear is stronger than love. You die alone, covered in your own fluids, begging for water no one will bring. But plague is just the celebrity disease. The everyday killers are less dramatic, but equally effective. Tuberculosis, which you call consumption, slowly drowns you in your own blood. You cough until your lungs shred, spitting red foam, getting thinner while your fever gets higher. It takes months, sometimes years, giving everyone time to watch you disappear. Typhoid comes from the water you drink, the food you eat, the air you breathe. Everything is contaminated. You burn with fever, develop rose-colored spots, become delirious. You might recover, but you'll be weak forever, prone to dying from the next thing that comes along. Dysentery, the bloody flux, is so common, it's barely worth mentioning. You shit yourself to death, literally. 20, 30 times a day, blood and mucus pouring out until you're empty, dehydrated, delirious. Children die from it constantly. Adults too, but children faster. Childbed fever is special torture reserved for women who survive birth. The midwife's dirty hands introduce infection directly into your womb. You develop fever, chills, abdominal pain that makes labor seem pleasant. The infection spreads through your blood, your organs shut down. You die screaming about demons only you can see. Smallpox covers you in pustules that burst and weep, leaving survivors scarred beyond recognition. If it gets in your eyes, you're blind. If it gets in your throat, you suffocate. Most who catch it die. Those who survive wish they hadn't. Every pregnancy brings new diseases, infections that eat your insides, fevers that cook your brain, mysterious ailments that make you bleed from everywhere. The midwives have names for them, but names don't help when you're dying. Mental illness exists, but has different names: melancholy, hysteria, possession. You watch your friends go mad from too many dead babies, too many beatings, too much life. They start seeing things, hearing voices, speaking in tongues. The treatment is usually burning or drowning, which solves the problem one way or another. Sexually transmitted diseases are rampant. Your husband visits whores, brings home syphilis, the great pox. It starts with sores, progresses to rashes, ends with your nose falling off and your brain rotting. You can't refuse him, so you catch whatever he carries. You pass it to your babies, who are born blind, deformed, or dead. Skin diseases cover you in scales, boils, weeping sores. Leprosy, though rare, means immediate exile. You're declared dead while still breathing, sent to live with other lepers until actual death claims you. No one understands contagion. They think disease comes from bad air, planetary alignment, or God's wrath. So they treat it with bloodletting, making you weaker. They prescribe mercury, which poisons you. They recommend prayer, which does nothing. The wise women, your only hope, know some herbs that actually help. Willow bark for fever, moldy bread for infection, various plants for pain. But they're usually accused of witchcraft and burned, taking their knowledge with them. You try everything: amulets, pilgrimages, flagellation. You drink your own urine, eat ground-up gemstones, let leeches drain your blood. Nothing works, because nothing can work. The world is diseased, and you're part of it. Every illness leaves you weaker, more susceptible to the next one. Your immune system, if you could call it that, is overwhelmed from birth. You're fighting everything simultaneously, while malnourished, overworked, and constantly pregnant. It's amazing you survive at all. Most don't. When the final illness comes, and it will, you're almost grateful. You've been sick so long that death seems like healing. Your family watches you die with resignation. They've seen it before. They'll see it again. They prepare your corpse while you're still breathing, eager to get you in the ground before you spread whatever's killing you. Disease isn't the exception in medieval times. It's the rule. You're not occasionally sick. You're occasionally well. And those moments of wellness are so rare, so precious, that they feel like miracles, which they are, because in this world of constant plague, survival itself is miraculous. Let's talk about something cheerful. Your rights. Just kidding. You don't have any. Your property. First your father's, then your husband's, then your son's, if you outlive your owner. Spoiler, you probably won't. The law sees you as slightly above livestock, but only because you can produce more humans. Your testimony in court is worth half a man's, if it's accepted at all. You can't own property unless you're a widow, and even then, Male relatives will try to steal it. You can't make contracts, can't sue anyone, can't defend yourself legally, even if someone's actively killing you. If your husband murders you, he might pay a small fine. If you murder him, even in self-defense, you're burned alive. The law is very clear about this double standard. You can't choose who you marry, when you marry, or if you marry. Your consent is neither required nor requested. You could be screaming no at the altar, and the ceremony continues. Once married, you cease to exist as a separate person. You're absorbed into your husband's identity, like a parasite into its host. Rape within marriage isn't a crime, because you can't rape property. Your husband's friends, his brothers, his father, they all might take turns. The law says this is fine. You're communal property within the family. If you're raped by a stranger, you're the criminal. You tempted him, led him astray, corrupted his morals. The punishment is usually death, though sometimes they're merciful and just mutilate you. Your children aren't yours. They belong to your husband. He can sell them, kill them, give them away, and you have no say. If he dies, they don't go to you. They go to his male relatives. You might never see them again. You watch your daughters sold to old men, your sons drafted for wars, powerless to protect them. If you try to leave your husband, you're a runaway slave. You'll be hunted, dragged back, beaten, maybe branded. Divorce doesn't exist unless you're nobility and can prove he's impotent, closely related, or a leper. Even then, you're disgraced forever. The church offers no sanctuary. They preach submission, obedience, suffering. Your pain is God's will. Your husband's cruelty is your cross to bear. Question this, and you're a heretic. We know what happens to heretics. Work doesn't belong to you either. Everything you produce, from thread to children, belongs to your husband. You labor 16 hours a day, but own nothing. The clothes on your back aren't yours. The food you cook isn't yours. The children you birth aren't yours. You're just the machine that produces things for men to own. If you're caught stealing, even food for your starving children, the punishment is severe. Hands cut off, branded face, public flogging. But you're not stealing for greed. You're stealing for survival. The law doesn't care. The law never cares about context when women are involved. Your body isn't yours. Your husband can beat you, rape you, loan you to friends, and it's all legal. You can't refuse sex, even if you're sick, bleeding, dying. Your consent is given permanently at marriage. Till death, do you part, and death is often what parts you. Education is forbidden. Reading makes women hysterical. Writing gives them ideas. Mathematics is beyond your simple mind. You're kept ignorant because knowledge is power, and power is for men only. Even your thoughts aren't yours. Think the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, and you're a witch. We've covered what happens to witches. Your entire existence is about serving others. You have no self, no rights, no voice. You're a walking womb with hands for working, nothing more. The few rights you might have, like widowhood, come with conditions. Stay chaste or lose everything. Remarry who they tell you or lose everything. Step out of line in any way and lose everything. Even in death, you have no rights. Your corpse belongs to your family. They decide where you're buried, how you're buried, if you're buried. Your wishes mean nothing. Your life meant nothing. Your death means nothing. You're erased from history, except as a number. Wife of so-and-so, mother of so-and-so, never your own name, never your own story. This is medieval women's rights, the complete absence of them. You exist at the mercy of men who show no mercy. You survive at their whim, die at their convenience, and disappear without a trace. But surely religion offers some comfort, some hope? And let's see. You're born in sin because Eve ate an apple. Your suffering is punishment for her crime. Your pain in childbirth, divinely ordained. Your submission to men, God's will. The church tells you this every Sunday in Latin. You don't understand. You sit in the back, the women's section, while men occupy the front. You stand for 2 hours, because sitting is for people who matter. The priest, who might also be your rapist, lectures about your inherent wickedness. You're weak, lustful, dangerous. Your body is corruption. Your thoughts are poison. Your existence is an offense to God that only constant suffering can partially redeem. You confess weakly to impure thoughts you didn't have, sins you didn't commit, because not confessing is suspicious. The priest assigns penance, usually something painful or humiliating. Crawling on your knees until they bleed, fasting when you're already starving, public confession of imaginary crimes. You pay tithes you can't afford for salvation you'll never receive. 10% of nothing is still something when the church wants it. They take your eggs, your grain, your thread. God needs these things, apparently. The saints you pray to don't answer. Mary, Mother of God, watches your suffering with painted wooden eyes. You light candles you can't afford. Leave offerings you need to eat. Beg for mercy that never comes. The church sells indulgences you can't buy. Salvation for sale. But you're too poor for heaven. Your children die unbaptized because you couldn't pay the priest in time. They go to limbo, the church says. Neither heaven nor hell, just eternal nothing. You comfort yourself with this while burying another tiny corpse outside consecrated ground. Religious festivals are your only break from work, but they're not really breaks. You're cooking feasts you won't eat, cleaning the church for free, participating in processions that exhaust you. Easter means more work. Christmas means more hunger. Saints' days mean watching others celebrate while you serve. The Bible says women should be silent, submissive, suffering. Convenient how God's word aligns perfectly with what men want. You can't read it yourself to verify. You just trust what they tell you, which is that everything wrong is your fault and everything painful is your purpose. Nunneries exist, but they're not escapes. They're prisons with prayers. You trade one master for many, one cell for another. You're still property, just God's property now. And God, interpreted by men, still wants you suffering. Some women find genuine faith, using it to endure the unendurable. They believe their suffering has meaning, their pain has purpose. This might be the only thing keeping them sane. Or maybe it's what drives them insane. Hard to tell the difference. You die hoping for heaven, but expecting nothing. The priest performs last rites if your family pays. Otherwise, you die unconfessed, unshriven, unprepared for judgment. Your soul, like your body, is at the mercy of those with power. Religion doesn't save medieval women. It just gives their suffering a theological framework. You're not just dying randomly. You're dying for Eve's sin, for God's plan, for reasons you'll never understand. This is comfort, apparently. This is hope. This is the best the church can offer. Eternal punishment for temporary existence, all because you were born female in a world that hates women. But at least you'll have company in hell. Every woman you've ever known will be there too, suffering eternally, just like they suffered temporarily. Heaven, if it exists, is probably full of the men who made earth hell. Why would death be any different? Let's be specific about your work, the endless, backbreaking, soul-crushing labor that defines your existence. You work from before dawn until after dusk, every day until you die. There are no weekends, no holidays, no sick days. You work through pregnancy, illness, injury, grief. You work while miscarrying, while in labor, while dying. Work is your religion, your identity, your only constant. Spinning is eternal. Every moment your hands aren't doing something else, they're spinning. You spin while walking, while watching children, while your husband beats you. The wheel turns, the thread forms, your fingers bleed. You produce miles of thread that becomes cloth that you'll never wear. Your hands are permanently clawed from holding the distaff. Your shoulders are frozen in the spinning position. You dream about spinning. Wake up spinning. Probably die spinning. This is women's work, which means it's worth nothing, despite being essential for survival. Laundry is attempted murder. You haul water from contaminated wells, heat it over fires that might kill you, add lye that burns your skin off. You beat clothes against rocks until your arms scream, wring them until your hands crack and bleed. The clothes never get clean, just different kinds of dirty. You hang them to dry, they freeze in winter, bake in summer, always smell like mildew and death. You do this weekly if you're ambitious, monthly if you're realistic, yearly if you've given up. Cooking is creating something from nothing. The eternal pottage pot that's never empty, never clean, never good. You throw in whatever won't kill anyone immediately. Turnips, barley, the occasional dead bird, herbs that might be medicinal or might be toxic. You stir with a wooden spoon that's more bacteria than wood, taste testing poison, daily. Your family complains about the food while eating every scrap. You haven't tasted meat in years, but you cook it for them, inhaling the smell and pretending. Cleaning is moving dirt from one place to another. You sweep dirt floors, making dust clouds that resettle immediately. You scrub with brushes made of twigs, achieving nothing except exhaustion. The house is never clean, can never be clean, will never be clean, but you keep trying because the alternative is drowning in filth even faster. You change the rushes on the floor when they're more rot than plant, usually once a year. Underneath is the archaeology of human existence. Dead mice, old food, probably a few human teeth. You spread new rushes, knowing they'll be disgusting within days. Your garden is life or death. You tend vegetables that barely grow in soil exhausted from centuries of use. You fight insects, disease, weather, and thieves for every pathetic turnip. You water with your own urine when the well runs dry. You protect seedlings like children because they might be the difference between surviving winter and not. When the Lord takes his share and the church takes theirs, you're left with almost nothing. But you'll replant, retry, refail, because what else is there? Animal husbandry means fighting creatures that hate you. The chickens peck your eyes, the goats butt you into walls, the pigs would eat you if you fell. You milk cows that kick, gather eggs from hens that scratch, slaughter animals, while your children watch and learn that death is ordinary. The blood gets under your fingernails, stays there forever. Brewing ale is chemistry without knowledge. You ferment grain you can't spare, hoping for alcohol that won't blind anyone. Sometimes it works, creating weak beer that's safer than water. Sometimes it produces poison that kills slowly. You don't know which until someone drinks it. You're also the household's medical provider, delivering babies with dirty hands, setting bones with no training, treating infections with superstition. You pull teeth with pliers, stitch wounds with hair, cauterize burns with more burning. Your medical knowledge is things that sometimes worked once, maybe. People die under your care constantly, but they die anyway. So you keep trying. Seasonal work multiplies your burden. Harvest means working 20-hour days, racing weather, and rot. Your back breaks, your hands bleed, your baby is strapped to you while you work. Planting means the same. Winter means different work, mending everything that broke, spinning extra thread for trade, keeping everyone from freezing to death. There's no slow season, just different kinds of exhaustion. Market days mean walking miles with goods on your back, haggling for prices that barely cover costs, walking back with less than you need. You're cheated constantly but can't complain. A woman arguing about prices is a troublemaker. Troublemakers get branded. You also do your husband's work when he's drunk, sick, or dead. Ploughing fields your body can't handle, fixing roofs while afraid of heights, dealing with merchants who see you as prey. You do twice the work for none of the credit. When your husband takes credit for your labor, you smile and stay silent. This is marriage. Child rearing happens during all other work. You birth them in fields, strap them to your body, and keep working. You teach daughters to suffer silently, sons to be slightly less cruel than their fathers. You watch most of them die, bury them quickly, get back to work. Mourning is luxury you can't afford. Your work is never done, never good enough, never valued. You produce everything, receive nothing, and die exhausted. Your last breath is probably while working, collapsing into the garden you tended, the wash you'll never finish, the spinning that'll outlive you. They find your body and complain about the inconvenience. Who'll do your work now? They'll find another woman, younger, stronger, not yet broken. She'll work until she breaks too. This is the cycle, the endless wheel of women's work that grinds bones to dust. You're not a person, you're a function. And when you stop functioning, you're replaced immediately. Your work continues in other hands. Your suffering continues in other bodies. Let's talk about the special horror of being accused of witchcraft. It starts small. Maybe your neighbor's cow dies. Maybe someone's baby is born wrong. Maybe you looked at someone strangely. Maybe you're just old, ugly, and alone. That's enough. The whispers start. Did you see her gathering herbs at midnight? Why does she live alone? How did she survive when her children didn't? Someone remembers you muttering to yourself. Someone else saw a black cat near your house. Stories build on stories until everyone knows you're a witch. They just need proof. The proof is creative. You have a mole, devil's mark. You float in water. Witch, you sink and drown. Innocent, but dead. You have knowledge of herbs? Witchcraft. You don't have knowledge and someone dies. Also witchcraft. Every outcome proves guilt because innocence isn't an option once accused. The trial is theatre. You're stripped naked, searched for marks of the devil. Every scar, every birthmark, every imperfection is evidence. They stick pins in you, looking for spots that don't bleed. They find them because they keep stabbing until you're too exhausted to react. They shave your head, your entire body, looking for hidden familiars. The humiliation is part of the punishment. You're displayed naked before your community, prodded like livestock, degraded beyond human. Torture extracts confession. The strappado dislocates your shoulders. The rack tears your joints apart. Thumbscrews crush your fingers to pulp. Hot irons burn patterns into your skin. You confess to everything. Flying to Sabbaths, kissing the devil's ass, eating babies, causing plague, controlling weather. You name other witches because the torture stops when you do. Those women are your friends, your daughters, but pain makes liars of everyone. The confession is detailed, sexual, impossible. You fucked demons, birthed monster children, turned into animals. The men writing it down are excited by their own fiction. You sign with a mark because you can't write, or with broken fingers if you can. Either way, you've condemned yourself. The execution is public entertainment. If you're lucky, they strangle you before the burning. If not, you're burned alive. The crowd brings picnics, children, dates. Your screaming is background music for their afternoon. The fire is built slowly if they really hate you. Green wood that smokes, but doesn't burn clean. You suffocate before you burn, usually. Sometimes, the wind is wrong and you cook slowly, screaming until your throat chars. Your death proves you were a witch. If you were innocent, God would have saved you. He didn't, so you weren't. Simple logic for simple minds. Your property is seized, divided among your accusers. That was probably the point. You had something they wanted, land, livestock, or just the wrong opinions. Witchcraft accusations are economics dressed as theology. Your family is tainted. Daughters become suspected witches. Sons become unmarriageable. The curse follows bloodlines because fear is hereditary and poverty makes everyone suspicious. Sometimes, entire villages of women burn. Dozens, hundreds, accused in waves of hysteria. The old, the healing women, the midwives, the unmarried, the too successful, the too strange. Any deviation from submission is witchcraft. The real witchcraft is surviving in a world that wants you dead. Every woman knows herbs that ease pain, induce miscarriage, sometimes kill. This knowledge is necessary, dangerous, and absolutely forbidden. You pass it to your daughters in whispers, knowing it might burn them. But without it, they'll die anyway. The accusation doesn't require evidence, just fear and greed. Your neighbor covets your chickens. Witch. The priest wants your body and you refuse. Witch. You're smarter than the men around you. Definitely witch. You survive multiple childbirths when others don't. Suspicious witch. The witch hunters are professionals. They get paid per conviction, so everyone's guilty. They have books describing witches that coincidentally describe every woman. They have authority from God, the state, and economics. You have nothing except the hope that someone else gets accused first. When they come for you, and probability says they will, you have two choices. Confess immediately and die quickly, or resist and die slowly. There's no version where you live. A justice doesn't exist for women, especially women accused of impossible crimes. The community that knew you, helped you, needed you, now celebrates your death. The same people you midwifed, healed, fed, now throw stones at your burning corpse. Fear is stronger than memory. Suspicion, stronger than friendship. You die knowing that every woman watching is thinking the same thing. Thank God it's her and not me. But it will be them, eventually. The witch trials are just legalized femicide, a way to kill women who've outlived their usefulness or accumulated too much knowledge. You burn not for witchcraft, but for the crime of existing, while female, in a world that hates women. Your death is recorded as justice served. History remembers you as evil defeated. No one remembers your name, your life, your actual existence. You're just another witch in the ledger, another woman erased by men who feared what they couldn't control. But your knowledge survives in whispers, between women, in herbs gathered at dawn, in the quiet resistance of those who refuse to forget. You were never a witch, but you were something more dangerous. A woman who knew things, who survived too long, who looked men in the eye. For that, you burned. For that, they all burned. Now let's discuss your living conditions, the hovel you call home. It's one room, maybe two if your husband's slightly less poor. The walls are wattle and daub, which is a fancy way of saying sticks, held together with mud and animal shit. When it rains, and it always rains, water streams through gaps that grow wider each year. The roof is thatch, which means straw that rots, leaks, and houses entire ecosystems of vermin. Birds nest in it, rats run through it, insects fall from it constantly. You wake with things crawling on your face. Sometimes they're harmless. Sometimes they bite, burrow, or lay eggs in your skin. The floor is packed earth, mixed with whatever's been ground into it over generations. Blood, shit, food, death, all compressed into a surface that's never clean, never dry, never safe. You spread rushes or straw over it, but they rot quickly, adding to the putrid layer cake of decomposition you walk on. In winter, the floor freezes and your feet stick to it. In summer, it becomes mud that sucks at your ankles. There's one window, if you're lucky, covered with oiled cloth that tears constantly. Light barely penetrates, but wind, rain, and cold have no problem entering. You live in permanent twilight, squinting at everything, ruining your eyes, trying to work in darkness. The fire pit is the heart of the home, sacred, essential, and dangerous. The smoke has nowhere to go, curling through the air until it fills your lungs. You cough through the nights, eyes watering, breathing in the same fumes that keep you alive. Accidents are common. Children wander too close, and the scars they carry become part of the household story. You sleep on the floor, maybe on a thin sack of straw, if you're lucky. It's damp, rough, and alive with insects. The smell of smoke, sweat, and earth clings to everything. You share this space with everyone, husband, children, the creatures that find their way in. There is no privacy, no quiet corner to call your own. Even the moments meant to be private happen in silence, within arm's reach of those pretending not to notice. Birth happens while everyone watches. Death happens while everyone waits for you to stop breathing so they can have more room. Your possessions fit in one corner, a pot, maybe two, a knife, some wooden bowls, a spindle that never stops. clothes that hang from pegs, damp and stinking. Everything you own could be carried in one trip, and will be when you die. The animals live inside during winter. The cow, if you have one, stands in the corner, shitting constantly. Chickens roost wherever, their droppings adding to the floor's complexity. The pig might have its own corner, but probably not. You're basically living in a barn that happens to have a cooking fire. Summer brings flies in biblical proportions. They cover everything, laying eggs in your food, your wounds, your baby's eyes. You can't escape them. They're in your mouth when you eat, your nose when you breathe. You stop noticing after a while. Just accept that you're part fly now. Winter is worse. Everything freezes, including you. Ice forms inside the house. Your breath becomes visible fog. You huddle together for warmth, sharing body heat and diseases. Fingers and toes go numb, sometimes forever. You stuff rags in every gap, but the cold finds ways in. It always does. Mice and rats are permanent residents. They eat your grain, shit in your food, bite your children. You hear them constantly, scratching, squeaking, breeding. They're so bold, they run across you while you sleep. You wake with bite marks, missing chunks of hair they've taken for nests. The cat, if you have one, is overwhelmed and probably diseased itself. Larger predators sometimes break in. Wolves in winter, desperate and starving. You fight them with sticks and screams. Sometimes they take a child. Sometimes they take you. The house offers no real protection from anything. When it rains hard, the house might collapse. Walls melt, roof caves in, everything you own destroyed in minutes. You rebuild with the same shit materials, knowing it'll happen again. Some families rebuild the same house dozens of times, each version slightly worse than the last. Mold covers everything, black, green, fuzzy, toxic. It grows on walls, clothes, food, skin. You're constantly sick from breathing spores, but don't know that's the cause. You just accept that homes make people ill. That's normal. The smell inside is indescribable. Smoke, sweat, shit, death and rot, all fermenting together. You can't smell it anymore, but visitors gag. Not that you have visitors. Everyone's house smells the same. This is human habitation, medieval style. Your house is also your workplace, your hospital, your funeral parlor. You birth babies in the corner, where you'll later lay out their corpses. You cook where you shit, sleep where you work, live where you die. Everything happens in this one terrible room. The house is inherited misery. Your husband's parents died here, their parents before them. Generations of suffering soaked into the walls. You'll die here too, adding your ghost to the collection. Your daughters will marry and move to identical hovels. Your sons will inherit this one, raising their families in the same squalor. Nothing improves, only deteriorates. Each generation makes the house slightly worse, adding their damage to history's accumulation. This is your castle, your sanctuary, your prison. You'll spend most of your short life inside these walls, working, breeding, suffering, dying. When you finally die, they'll probably bury you under the floor. Sacred ground costs money, and you're not worth it. You'll decompose beneath your family's feet, your bones eventually ground into the earth they walk on. Even in death, you're part of the house's foundation. This hovel, this nightmare of mud and straw, is the only world most medieval women ever know. Born in one corner, die in another, never traveling more than a few miles from this single, horrible room. It's not a home. It's a cage made of poverty and shit, holding you until death offers the only escape. Let's talk about pregnancy. All the pregnancies, the endless parade of pregnancies that define and destroy you. You're pregnant from first blood to last breath, basically. Maybe 15, 20 times, if you're really unlucky. Your body is never yours, always occupied, always building another human you might watch die. Each pregnancy is Russian roulette. Will this be the one that kills you, tears you apart, leaves you paralyzed? You don't know until you're screaming in labor, and by then it's too late. The signs start immediately. Missed blood, though you might keep bleeding anyway because your body is confused. Nausea so severe you vomit bile until your throat bleeds. Exhaustion that makes you hallucinate. But you keep working because pregnancy isn't illness, it's just womanhood. Your breasts swell and burn, leaking fluid that stains your dress. Your husband finds you repulsive, but still demands sex. You spread your legs while wanting to die, feeling the baby flutter as he pounds into you. Sometimes the baby stops moving after. You know what that means. The belly grows wrong, too big, might be twins, which doubles death risk. Too small, baby might be dead already. Too low, might come early. Too high, might be breech. Every variation is potentially fatal, and you have no way to know until labor starts. You feel the baby constantly, kicking your ribs until they crack, pressing on your bladder until you piss yourself hourly, turning sideways, getting stuck, making your belly distort into horrible shapes. Sometimes you can see individual limbs pressing through your skin. It's alien, horrifying, completely normal. Your body breaks down systematically. Teeth fall out, the baby's stealing calcium. Hair falls out, nutrition going to the parasite inside. Joints separate, bones soften, organs shift to places they shouldn't be. You can't breathe because the baby crushes your lungs. Can't eat because it crushes your stomach. Can't shit because it crushes everything. You're dying in slow motion while building life. The irony is lost on no one. Your previous pregnancies haunt the current one. Old tears that never healed properly rip open again. Organs that prolapsed stay prolapsed. Infections that went dormant wake up. Each pregnancy is harder because your body remembers trauma and prepares for more. You try to prevent pregnancy, secretly, shamefully. Herbs that might work, might kill you, might do nothing. Pessaries of crocodile dung, which you don't have, so you use whatever animal shit is available. Jumping backward after sex, drinking his urine, inserting wool soaked in vinegar. None of it works. You get pregnant anyway, because fertility is cruel and biology doesn't care that you're dying. When you try to miscarry, which is murder according to the church, you drink poisons that might kill the baby, might kill you, might kill both. You insert sharp objects, hoping to pierce something vital. You throw yourself downstairs, have someone punch your belly, lift things that tear your insides. Sometimes it works, and you bleed out the evidence of your desperation. Sometimes it doesn't, and the baby is born deformed from your attempts to kill it. Either way, you're guilty of something. The quickening when you first feel movement is supposed to be joy. Instead, it's confirmation of your death sentence. The thing inside is real now, growing, demanding, destroying. You have maybe 5 months before it tries to kill you properly. You prepare by teaching your daughters everything. knowing you might not survive to teach them more. Late pregnancy is torture. You can't lie down without suffocating, can't stand without fainting, can't exist without agony. Your vulva swells and splits. Hemorrhoids make sitting impossible. Your fingers swell until they're useless sausages. Your face swells until you're unrecognizable. Everything retains water except your mouth, which is perpetually dry. You're dying of thirst while drowning in your own fluids. The baby drops, engaging for birth. You feel it between your legs, pressing down, trying to escape. Every step might trigger labor. Every movement might break your water. You're terrified constantly because you know what's coming. The tearing, the bleeding, the very real possibility of death. You've seen too many women die screaming to have any illusions about birth being beautiful. You make arrangements, where you want to be buried, who should raise your children, what little property should go where. Everyone pretends you're being dramatic, but everyone knows you're being practical. The last weeks are counting down to execution. You can't sleep because the baby is too active. Can't work because you can barely move. Can't think about anything except the approaching agony. When labor finally starts, it's almost a relief. At least the waiting is over. Now you just have to survive the next few days of hell. Or not. Either way, the pregnancy part is ending. You've grown this thing for 9 months, destroyed your body building it, and now it wants out. Whether you survive its exit is between you and God. And God, as you've noticed, isn't particularly interested in women's survival. This is pregnancy in medieval times. Not a blessed event, but a death sentence you might temporarily survive. Over and over until one finally kills you. Labor begins like drowning in reverse. Your body decides it's time, whether you're ready or not. The first pains are almost pleasant compared to what's coming. You might be in the field, harvesting. You keep working until fluid runs down your legs, mixing with sweat and dirt. Then you walk home, knowing you might not walk out again. The midwife is called if you can afford her. She's your neighbor, learned from her mother, who learned from hers. Her hands are dirty, her tools are dirtier, but she's better than nothing. Maybe she examines you with fingers that have been inside corpses, tells you what you already know. The baby is coming. You labor at home because hospitals don't exist and wouldn't take women anyway. The birthing chair is just a regular chair with the seat cut out, positioned over straw that'll soak up whatever comes out. You grip the arms until wood splinters embed in your palms. The pain is beyond description, like being split open from inside, like your bones are breaking, like God himself is tearing you apart. It comes in waves, each one worse than the last. You scream until your voice breaks, bite through leather straps, claw gouges in your own thighs. This goes on for hours, days sometimes. The baby might be stuck, head too big, shoulders too wide, coming out wrong. The midwife reaches inside you, trying to turn it. Her fingernails scrape your cervix. You feel everything, every movement, every attempt to reposition the thing that's killing you. If the baby won't turn, she might have to break it. Crush the skull to make it smaller. Pull it out in pieces. You're conscious for this, feeling your baby dismembered inside you, pulled out in fragments. Sometimes the baby is already dead, has been for days. It's rotting inside you, poisoning your blood. The smell when it finally comes out is unforgettable. grey flesh, sliding out in chunks while you hemorrhage. If the baby is alive but stuck, they might cut you. No anesthesia, just a knife slicing through your perineum, maybe up into your rectum. The tearing is audible, a wet, ripping sound that everyone pretends not to hear. Blood everywhere, soaking through the straw, pooling on the floor, covering the midwife to her elbows. You're dying, but still pushing, because what else can you do? The baby finally comes, dead or alive, whole or in pieces. But you're not done. The afterbirth has to follow. If it doesn't, you'll die from infection. If it tears away wrong, you'll die from bleeding. The midwife reaches back inside, pulling out clots and tissue, checking for completeness. The bleeding won't stop. They pack you with rags, but they soak through immediately. Your heart races, your skin goes cold. Everyone exchanges looks that mean you're dying. They might burn herbs, say prayers, attempt to stitch tears with hair or thread. Nothing really works. You either stop bleeding through luck or divine intervention, or you don't. If you survive the birth and the bleeding, there's still childbed fever. The midwife's dirty hands introduced bacteria directly into your womb. Within days, you're burning with fever, delirious, your belly swelling with infection. The discharge that comes out is green, black, chunks of rotting tissue. You smell yourself dying from the inside. The fever breaks your mind. You see demons, dead children, walls melting. You thrash and scream about things only you can see. Your family ties you down, forces water between your cracked lips, waits for you to die. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes the fever breaks, the infection clears. You survive to do it all again. But you're never the same. Parts of you are permanently broken. Your vagina might tear into your rectum, making you leak feces forever. Your uterus might prolapse, hanging between your legs like a sick joke. Your bladder might be destroyed, making you piss yourself constantly. These injuries don't heal. There's no surgery, no repair, just living with your body turned inside out. You're 25. You've given birth 8 times, survived 5, and your body is destroyed. But you'll be pregnant again within months, because your husband's needs don't care about your suffering. You'll go through this again and again, until one birth finally kills you. The babies you birth might live minutes, hours, days, if they're lucky. Most don't make their first year. You bury them in small boxes, sometimes several in one if they died close together. Your body made them, fed them, pushed them out in agony, and now you put them in the ground. The grief is constant, but unacknowledged. Dead babies are just part of life. You're expected to move on immediately, get pregnant again, replace the dead with new ones, who'll probably also die. This is childbirth in medieval times. Not bringing life into the world, but dancing with death while your body rips apart. You don't give birth, you survive birth, or you don't. Either way, another woman will take your place, push out babies in the same chair where you died, adding her blood to the stains you left behind. Your final years, if you're extraordinarily lucky to have them, are spent as a widow. Your husband finally dead from something you probably gave him, or something he gave himself. Either way, you're free. Widowhood is the only time in your entire life when you're actually a person, under law. You can own property, make contracts, run a business. You're no longer someone's property. You're just alone, old, and everyone thinks you're a witch. But honestly, after everything, being feared beats being owned. You guard your independence viciously. Sons try to claim your property. The church tries to guilt you into donations. New husbands present themselves, wanting your land more than your destroyed body. You trust no one. You've learned that love is violence, marriage is slavery, and men are predators. You sleep with a knife, bar your door, and keep to yourself. The young women come to you for herbs, advice, abortions they'll never admit to needing. You help them because you remember being them. You teach them which plants prevent pregnancy, which cause miscarriage, which ease the pain of birth. This knowledge makes you dangerous. Every failed pregnancy might be blamed on you. Every dead baby could be your witchcraft. You walk a careful line between healer and target. Your body is a museum of damage. Every pregnancy left scars. Every birth took something that never came back. You're held together by determination and spite. Your uterus hangs between your legs. Your bladder leaks constantly. Your rectum might be connected to your vagina from tears that never healed. You stuff rags everywhere, trying to contain the various fluids that leak out. You smell like death approaching, but then you've smelled like that for years. Your mind is sharp even as your body fails. You remember everything, every birth, every death, every beating. The memories are both burden and weapon. You know secrets that could destroy families, but you also know silence is survival. You watch your daughters live your life, your granddaughters beginning the same journey. You want to warn them, but what would you say? That life is suffering? They'll learn. That men are cruel? They know. That pregnancy might kill them? They've seen. There's no wisdom that helps, only endurance. You tend your garden with hands twisted from arthritis. The vegetables grow better now that you piss on them constantly. Silver lining to incontinence. You spin thread even though your fingers barely work. The rhythm is comforting, familiar, the only constant in a life of variables. Death watches you constantly now. You feel it in every labored breath, every skipped heartbeat. You're not afraid. You've been intimate with death since childhood. It's taken everyone you've loved, spared you for reasons unknown. You're ready whenever it decides to finally claim you. You prepare meticulously. Your shroud is ready, sewn by your own crippled hands. Your burial spot is chosen, paid for in advance. You've distributed your few possessions, mostly to women who need them. You've confessed to the priest, lying about most of it because the truth would get you burned even now. When death comes, it's gentle. A stroke in your sleep, a heart that finally stops, lungs that forget to breathe. You die in the bed where you birthed babies, where you were raped nightly, where you bled and suffered and somehow survived. Your last thought might be relief. Finally, rest. Finally, peace. Finally, an end to the endless suffering. They find you in the morning, cold and rigid, a slight smile on your face. The first time anyone's seen you peaceful. They bury you quickly, before you start to smell worse than you did alive. No elaborate funeral, just a hole, some prayers, and everyone moving on. Your daughters divide your possessions. Your sons fight over your land. Within a year, no one speaks your name. Within 5, no one remembers it. You disappear completely, like millions of medieval women, before and after you. But your suffering continues in every woman born after. The same violence, the same pregnancies, the same early deaths. The wheel turns, grinding women to dust, powered by their blood and pain. Nothing changes for centuries. Women keep dying in childbirth, being beaten by husbands, burned as witches. Your great-great-granddaughters live exactly as you did, suffer exactly as you did, die exactly as you did. This is your legacy. Not life, but survival. Not love, but endurance. Not hope, but spite. You existed. You suffered. You died. And that's all history records. If it records anything at all. Most likely, you're not even a footnote. Just another medieval woman, ground to nothing by time's millstone. Forgotten before your grave grass grows. Let me tell you about medieval motherhood. That blessed state of watching your children die. You birth them in agony, feed them from cracked nipples, and then watch them succumb to diseases that have no names, no cures, only endings. Half die before 5. Those who survive might make it to 10 before something else claims them. You don't name them immediately. Why get attached to something so temporary? You wait to see if they'll survive the first fever, the first winter, the first everything that tries to kill them. By the time you name them, you've already started mourning them. Your breast milk might be poisoned from your own malnutrition. You watch your baby weaken with every feeding, knowing you're starving them while trying to nourish them. But what choice do you have? Wet nurses cost money. Animal milk might kill them faster. So you persist, your body failing to provide what your child needs to survive. You watch their eyes sink, their belly distend, their cries weaken to whimpers. This is motherhood, feeding death to your offspring. And when they start solid food, it's the same gruel that's killing you. Their teeth rot before they fully emerge. Their growth stunts immediately. You watch your children become miniature versions of your own suffering. Daughters already bent from labor, sons already violent from watching their father. The cycle continues before your eyes. Discipline means beating them, because that's all you know. You hit them to keep them alive. Don't touch that. You'll die. Don't go there. You'll die. Don't eat that. Speak that. Think that. Or you'll die. Every lesson is delivered with violence because gentle children don't survive medieval childhood. You teach them cruelty is love because in this world it might be. Disease takes them in waves. One child gets fever. They all get fever. You watch them burn, convulse, void themselves, die in sequence. Sometimes, all within the same week. You prepare multiple small graves, burying your children in batches like planting season. The survivors are damaged, pockmarked from smallpox, bent from rickets, weakened from diseases that didn't quite kill them. You look at your living children and see the walking wounded, future corpses temporarily breathing. You love them desperately, hopelessly, knowing love won't save them from their inherited suffering. You try to protect them with superstition, amulets, prayers, herbs tied around their necks. Nothing works, but you keep trying, because action feels better than acceptance. You watch other mothers lose children and feel relief. It's not yours this time. Then guilt for feeling relief. Then numbness, because feeling anything hurts too much. Your children work from the moment they can walk. Childhood is a luxury you can't afford. They carry water, tend animals, work fields, all while their bones are still soft, still growing wrong from the labor. You watch your 6-year-old daughter spinning thread with bleeding fingers. And remember, when those hands were small enough to fit inside your palm. Now they're tools, like yours. Your sons learn violence from their father, practice it on their sisters, perfect it on their future wives. You try to intervene, but get beaten for interfering with masculine education. You watch your gentle boy become a brutal man and wonder if you could have prevented it. You couldn't. The world shapes boys into weapons and girls into targets. When your daughters start bleeding, you mourn their childhood's official end. You teach them to hide it, to suffer silently, to prepare for the marriage that'll probably kill them. You watch men examine your 12-year-old like livestock and want to murder them all. Instead, you smile, surveil, and negotiate the best price for your baby, because that's motherhood too, selling your children to survive. The boys are taken for war, labor, or apprenticeships that might kill them. You nurse them, raise them, love them for 14 years, then watch strangers take them away. They might return broken, or not return at all. Either way, the child you raised is gone. Accidents claim the ones disease doesn't. Drowning in wells, kicked by horses, burned in fires, crushed under carts. You find your child's broken body and carry it home, washing it for burial, while remembering washing it after birth. The same hands, the same water, different kind of clean. You bury them yourself because you trust no one else to do it gently. You dig graves while pregnant with replacements, knowing you're planting one child while growing another. The mathematics of motherhood are brutal. Birth 20, bury 15, watch 5 reach adulthood. Of those 5, 3 might survive to have children of their own. You're successful if any of your genetic line continues. Most doesn't. You become harder with each loss. The first dead child breaks you. The 10th is routine. By the 15th, you barely pause in your work. This isn't callousness, it's survival. You can't mourn properly, or you'd never stop mourning. Your living children watch you bury their siblings, learning that death is normal, expected, mundane. They don't fear it, because it's been at every family dinner, every bedtime, every ordinary Tuesday. They grow up saturated in grief, which prepares them for their own losses. Your love for your children is fierce, but practical. You love them while teaching them to suffer. You love them while beating lessons into their skin. You love them while preparing them for death. This is maternal love in medieval times, desperate and doomed. You watch your daughters married off, knowing what awaits them. You watch your sons become their fathers, perpetuating the violence. You watch your grandchildren begin the cycle again, and you're too tired to even cry. Some children you lose track of entirely, sold, traded, or simply wandered off. You don't look for them because what's the point? They're either dead or living someone else's nightmare. Either way, they're gone. The children who survive to adulthood don't thank you. Why would they? You brought them into hell, taught them to endure it, then watched it consume them. Your motherhood ends when you can no longer breed, or when you die, whichever comes first. Usually death. You leave behind damaged children who'll damage their own children, continuing the tradition of trauma you inherited and passed on. This is motherhood in medieval times, not nurturing life, but managing death, not raising children, but producing replacements for the ones that don't survive. You're not a mother. You're a factory for future suffering, producing humans for the world to destroy. And you keep producing until your body finally refuses. or until one final birth kills you. Then your daughters become mothers, your sons become fathers, and the wheel of suffering turns another generation. Your grandchildren will die like your children did. Your great-grandchildren will suffer like you suffered. Nothing you did mattered except continuing the species' miserable existence. This is your maternal legacy. Generations of women broken by childbirth, watching their children die, teaching daughters to endure the unendurable. Motherhood isn't beautiful in medieval times. It's horror with a purpose, suffering that produces more sufferers. Let's talk about justice for medieval women, which is to say, let's talk about something that doesn't exist. When your husband beats you unconscious, that's his right. When he rapes you nightly, that's marriage. When he kills you, that's unfortunate, but hardly criminal. Maybe he pays a fine to your father for destroying his property. Maybe he doesn't. Either way, he remarries within the month. If you kill him, even in self-defense, even while he's actively murdering you, you're burned alive. The law is very clear about this. Men can kill women. Women cannot kill men. Ever. For any reason. Period. If you're raped by someone other than your husband, you're the criminal. You tempted him, seduced him, corrupted him. The punishment is usually death, though sometimes they're merciful and just cut off your nose, brand your face, or lock you away forever. Your rapist might pay a fine, not to you but to your husband or father, for damaging their property. That's what passes for justice. If you steal food for your starving children, you lose a hand. If a man steals from you, well, prove it. Your testimony is worth half of his. If anything, you need 2 female witnesses to equal 1 male witness. Good luck finding women willing to testify and risk becoming targets themselves. The church court is worse than civil court. Everything is sin, especially things women do. Speaking in church? Sine. Missing mass. Sine. Using herbs for healing? Witchcraft, which is advanced sin. The punishment is always suffering, because suffering purifies women's naturally corrupt souls. You're guilty of existing while female, and that's the worst crime of all. Local justice is handled by the Lord, who owns you. He decides disputes, which usually means deciding against you. You can't own property, so property disputes don't involve you. You can't make contracts, so business disputes don't involve you. You're not a person under law, so personal disputes don't matter. The only time you matter legally is when you've done something wrong. Then suddenly, you're very much a person, responsible for your crimes, deserving of punishment. Trial by ordeal is entertainment disguised as justice. You're thrown in water, burned with iron, forced to carry hot metal. If you survive unharmed, you're innocent. Since no one survives unharmed, everyone's guilty. The logic is perfect in its stupidity. God will protect the innocent, except he never does, which proves you're guilty. Case closed. Public punishment is gendered. Men might be hanged quickly. Women are burned slowly. Men might be branded on the hand. Women are branded on the face. Men might be flogged. Women are stripped naked first, then flogged. The humiliation is part of the punishment, because women need extra shame to learn their lessons. The scold's bridle is specially designed for women who talk too much, which means any woman who talks. It's an iron mask with spikes that pierce your tongue. You're paraded through town wearing it, blood dripping from your mouth, while people laugh. This is justice for the crime of having opinions while female. Cucking stools are for difficult women. You're strapped to a chair and dunked in the river repeatedly. Sometimes you drown. Sometimes you just wish you had. Either way, you learn to shut up or die trying. The stakes are equal opportunity humiliation, but women get extra attention. Groping is expected. Rape is possible. You're immobilized while the town takes out its frustrations on your body. This is justice for whatever minor infraction gave them excuse to put you there. If you're accused of adultery, the punishment is creative. Head shaved, stripped naked, paraded through town while people throw shit. Sometimes, literally, your husband can beat you to death afterward, and that's legal. But if he commits adultery, boys will be boys. Maybe he confesses to the priest. Maybe he doesn't. Either way, no consequences. Pregnancy outside marriage means death or exile. The man who impregnated you faces no punishment. Might even deny it's his. You can't prove otherwise, so you're labeled a whore and punished accordingly. The baby, if it survives, is a bastard with no rights, no future, no hope. Justice for killing a woman depends on her value. Virgin daughters are worth more than wives. Young wives worth more than old ones. Pregnant women worth more, but only because of the baby. The actual woman is irrelevant. It's about property damage, lost breeding potential, economic impact, never about the woman herself. Inheritance law ensures women get nothing. Everything goes to sons. If there are no sons, male cousins. If no male cousins, the Lord takes it. Daughters inherit only if there are literally no living male relatives anywhere. And even then, they don't really inherit. Their future husbands do. Church law is supposedly moral, but actually just differently cruel. Divorce doesn't exist. Separation requires proving impotence, incest, or leprosy. Beating, rape, attempted murder. Those are just marriage. Deal with it. Sanctuary in churches is for men. Women seeking sanctuary are often dragged out, especially if they're fleeing husbands. The sanctity of marriage supersedes the sanctity of sanctuary. Your suffering is God's will, apparently. The only justice women might see is accidental. Your husband drinks himself to death. Your rapist falls off a horse. The Lord who abused you dies of plague. You don't celebrate openly, but you don't mourn either. These small justices are the only ones you'll ever see. When you die, there's no justice for your death. No investigation, no accountability, no record. You're just another dead woman, one of thousands, millions, who died unnoticed, unmourned, unavenged. Your daughters inherit this injustice. Your sons perpetuate it. The system continues, grinding women to dust under the wheel of law that was never meant to protect them. Justice for medieval women isn't blind. It sees perfectly well. It just doesn't care. You're not human under law. You're property, livestock, a walking womb with no rights. And when you're destroyed, broken, murdered, the law shrugs. That's what property is for, being used up and discarded. Justice is for people, and you're not people. You're medieval women. Different category entirely. The law exists to control you, punish you, destroy you, never to protect you, never to avenge you, never to see you as deserving of justice. You die knowing your murderer will face no consequences. Your daughters die knowing the same. Your granddaughters, great-granddaughters, all die unavenged. This is justice, medieval style. There isn't any. Now let's discuss the marketplace, where you're cheated, groped, and humiliated, while trying to trade eggs for grain. Market day is supposed to be exciting, a break from routine. Instead, it's another gauntlet of suffering with commercial characteristics. You wake before dawn to prepare whatever pathetic goods you're trying to sell. Eggs from chickens that barely lay, thread you spun until your fingers bled, vegetables that are mostly rot. You bundle them carefully, knowing most won't sell. And what does won't cover costs. The walk to market might be 5 miles through mud, carrying everything on your back, because carts are for people with money. Your feet are bare or wrapped in rags. By the time you arrive, you're exhausted, soaked, and your goods are damaged from the journey. You set up in the worst spot, because good spots cost money or require penis ownership. You're at the edge where no one goes, or in the sun where everything spoils, or next to the latrine where the smell drives customers away. But you smile and pretend this is fine. Male merchants cheat you automatically. Your eggs are worth half what they'd pay a man. Your thread is inferior, even though it's identical. Your vegetables are suspicious, probably witchcraft grown. You accept their prices because arguing means trouble, and trouble means accusation, and accusation means death. Customers grope you while examining goods, hands on your breasts while discussing carrots, fingers up your skirt while haggling over prices. You can't stop them, can't complain, can't even flinch. This is part of commerce when you're female. Your body is part of the negotiation. Other women are competition, not allies. Everyone's desperate, everyone's starving, everyone's willing to undercut to survive. You watch each other suspiciously, ready to steal customers, spread rumors, destroy each other for an extra penny. Solidarity doesn't exist when survival's at stake. The guild system excludes you. Men form protective unions, control prices, support each other. Women work alone, vulnerable, exploited. You can't join guilds, can't form your own, can't organize without being accused of conspiracy, which is basically witchcraft with economics. Guards harass you constantly. Papers you don't have. Taxes you can't pay. Fines for invented infractions. They take what they want, goods or services, and you pretend it's voluntary. Resistance means the stocks, or worse, you lose money on every transaction. The cost of getting to market, the spot rental you can't afford, the protection money to avoid trouble, the bribes to sell anything. You're deeper in debt after market than before. But you'll return next week, because what choice do you have? Sometimes violence erupts. Arguments over prices become beatings. Accusations of short waiting become riots. Women are always the first victims, easiest targets. You've seen women killed over a handful of grain, beaten unconscious for suspected theft, stripped and humiliated for embarrassing male merchants. You keep your head down, make yourself small, complete transactions quickly. Invisibility is survival in the marketplace. Rich merchants' wives, shops surrounded by servants, buying what you're selling for insulting prices. They examine your goods with disgust, comment on your smell, your appearance, your obvious poverty. You smile and thank them for their business, while fantasizing about their deaths. Children steal from you constantly. Quick hands grabbing eggs, bread, whatever's accessible. You can't chase them, can't leave your spot, can't afford losses, but can't prevent them. You watch your goods disappear, your day's work stolen, your family's food gone. The church takes its cut. Market tax, stall blessing, percentage of sales. God needs his share of your nothing. The priest who collects might be the same one who gropes you during confession. You pay him while dying inside. Weather destroys everything. Rain ruins thread. Sun spoils eggs. Wind scatters vegetables. You have no shelter, no protection, no recourse. You watch your goods rot while customers pass by, your children's food dissolving into worthless mush. Some days you sell nothing. Stand for 12 hours, walk 10 miles round trip, return with the same goods, but more damaged. Your family asks what you brought home. You show them nothing. They go hungry. You go hungry. Tomorrow, you'll try again, because that's all there is. The worst part is pretending, smiling at customers who insult you, thanking thieves who rob you, blessing those who cheat you. Your face hurts from false expressions. Your soul dies from forced gratitude. But this is commerce for medieval women. You're not a merchant. You're a victim with goods. The marketplace isn't opportunity. It's organized exploitation. You leave poorer, hungrier, more desperate than you came. But you'll return next week and the week after until you're too old, too sick, or too dead to continue. Your daughters will inherit your market spot, your reputation for being easy to cheat, your resignation to commercial rape. They'll stand where you stood, suffer what you suffered, die like you died. The marketplace continues, grinding women into poverty while men get rich on their labor. This is economics, medieval style. You produce everything, receive nothing, and smile while being robbed. The marketplace isn't where you trade. It's where you're traded. Your goods, secondary to your exploitation. Let me tell you about your death, the only guaranteed escape from medieval womanhood. It's approaching faster than you think. Life expectancy for women is about 35 years, if you're incredibly lucky. Most die younger, ground down by childbirth, disease, violence, or simple exhaustion. Death watches you from birth, waiting for the perfect moment, maybe during your 8th pregnancy, maybe from your husband's fists, maybe from an infected cut, a bad tooth, contaminated water. The possibilities are endless, the result identical. You feel death approaching in your bones. They ache constantly, brittle from calcium loss, broken from violence, bent from labor. Your body is shutting down system by system. Kidneys failing from infection, liver struggling with malnutrition, heart exhausted from too many pregnancies, lungs scarred from smoke and disease. You're dying, but still working, because dying doesn't excuse you from duties. You cook while fevered, clean while hemorrhaging, spin thread while your fingers turn black. Death is no reason for laziness. The signs accumulate. Blood in your urine, your stool, your vomit, lumps that grow, wounds that won't heal, pain that never stops. You know what's coming, but can't afford to acknowledge it. Doctors don't exist for people like you. Hospitals are for men. You'll die at home, untreated, undiagnosed, unmourned. Your family watches you deteriorate with resignation. They've seen death before. Mother, sisters, daughters, all gone the same way. You're just next in line. They prepare for your absence while you're still breathing, dividing your responsibilities, claiming your possessions, planning your replacement. The final illness might be childbed fever, burning you from inside while you hallucinate demons. Might be consumption, drowning in your own blood while your lungs dissolve. Might be cancer, eating you alive while everyone watches. Might be violence, your husband's final beating, your body finally refusing to heal. Whatever it is, you face it alone. Pain relief doesn't exist. Comfort is for the wealthy. You die in agony, because that's how women die. Screaming into silence, while the world continues without pause. Your deathbed is the same straw mattress where you birthed babies, were raped nightly, bled monthly. It's soaked with decades of fluid, yours and others. You lie in this accumulation of suffering, adding your final contributions. The smell announces your death before you stop breathing. Rot, infection, defeat, and something sweet that means organs failing. Your children avoid the room. Your husband sleeps elsewhere. You die alone, except for the rats, waiting patiently. Last rites cost money. If your family pays, the priest arrives drunk, performs perfunctory prayers, leaves quickly. If they don't pay, you die unconfessed. The church says you'll burn in hell. You're too tired to care. Hell can't be worse than life has been. Your last thoughts aren't profound. Probably relief that it's ending. Maybe worry about who'll care for your children. Definitely not regret, because what was there to regret? You never had choices, only obligations. You stop breathing sometime in the night. No one notices until morning, when breakfast isn't ready. They find you cold, rigid, finally peaceful. The first peace you've known since birth. Your corpse is washed more thoroughly than you ever were alive. Dressed in the cleanest cloth available, which isn't clean, wrapped in a shroud if they can afford it, buried in your clothes if not. Either way, you're going in the ground within the day. No embalming, no preservation, just quick disposal before you smell worse. The funeral is brief. Some prayers, some dirt, some relief that it's over. Your children cry briefly. Your husband looks for a new wife immediately. Your grave is unmarked, because markers cost money and you're not worth stone. Within a season, grass grows over you. Within a year, everyone forgets where you're buried. Within a generation, you're completely erased. Your daughters die the same way. Your granddaughters, your great-granddaughters. The same suffering, the same deaths, the same erasure. Hundreds of generations of women, dying in identical agony, forgotten immediately. This is your legacy, anonymous suffering that continues forever. You died as you lived, unvalued, unnamed, unnecessary, except as a vessel for others' needs. Death isn't tragedy for medieval women. It's mercy. The only mercy you'll ever receive. You're free now. Finally free. Free from pregnancy, violence, hunger, disease. Free from being property, livestock, nothing. Death is the first time you've owned anything, and what you own is absence. Your bones dissolve into soil that grows food you'll never eat. Your atoms disperse into air. Others breathe. You become part of everything and nothing simultaneously. This is the closest to mattering you'll ever get. But here's the truth. You did matter. Every thread you spun held civilization together. Every child you birthed continued humanity. Every meal you cooked sustained life. Every herb you knew preserved knowledge. You mattered desperately, essentially, completely. The world just never admitted it. You were the foundation everything stood on, invisible but essential. Without you, none of it worked. The lords, the priests, the merchants, the wars, the castles, the whole elaborate structure of medieval society, all balanced on your breaking back. You mattered. They just made sure you never knew it. Made sure you died thinking you were nothing. Made sure history forgot you existed. But you existed. You suffered. You survived as long as you could. And that's heroic in ways no knight could understand. So rest now. Your suffering is ended. Your daughters will continue it, but yours is done. You earned this death through decades of endurance. You earned this peace through centuries of pain. You earned this silence through a lifetime of screaming inside. Death is your reward for surviving medieval womanhood as long as you did. It's the only reward you'll ever get. But it's finally, mercifully, completely yours. And that's life as a medieval woman. Short, brutal, and forgotten. From the moment you're born female, you're marked for suffering. Your childhood is labor, your adolescence is terror, your adulthood is pregnancy and pain, your old age is accusations of witchcraft. Every stage of life brings new horrors, each worse than the last. You work constantly, eat never, sleep rarely, and die young. Your property from birth to death, owned by father, husband, son, lord, church. Never yourself, never free, never human in the eyes of law or God. You birth the next generation, while the current one destroys you. You feed everyone while starving. You heal others while dying. You create everything while owning nothing. Your entire existence is sacrifice, without acknowledgement, labor without payment, suffering without purpose, except to enable others' lives. The men write history, so you don't appear in it. The church writes morality, so you're the villain. The law writes justice, so you receive none. Every system is designed to extract from you while giving nothing back. You're a resource to be depleted, not a person to be valued. Your daughters inherit your suffering like a cursed heirloom. Your sons inherit the right to cause it. The cycle continues, unbroken for centuries. Each generation of women ground down identically, their individual agonies blurring into one long scream across time. But somehow, impossibly, you persisted. Through the blood, the violence, the endless pregnancies, the early deaths, you persisted. Through the accusations, the burnings, the erasure, you persisted. Through everything designed to destroy you, you persisted long enough to create the next generation who would also persist. That persistence, that stubborn refusal to be completely destroyed, that's your victory. Small, invisible, uncelebrated, but real. You survived long enough to spin thread that became cloth that kept someone warm. You survived long enough to birth children who might live better. You survived long enough to pass on herb knowledge that saved lives. You survived long enough to matter, even if no one noticed. Medieval womanhood was hell designed specifically for you. Every torture carefully crafted for female bodies, female minds, female souls. But you endured it. Millions of you, enduring identical hells, holding up the world while it crushed you. Without you, civilization collapses. Without your labor, everyone starves. Without your wombs, humanity ends. Without your knowledge, darkness wins. You were essential, even as they told you you were nothing. You were the center, even as they pushed you to margins. You were everything, even as they gave you nothing. So when you think about medieval times, don't think about knights and castles. Think about the women who made it all possible while being destroyed by it. Think about the generations who suffered in silence so you could exist. Think about the price paid in female blood for civilization's foundation. Think about us, the forgotten ones, the erased ones, the medieval women who lived, suffered, and died so others could write histories that don't include us. We existed. We mattered. We were here. And now, finally, you know how short life was. You know why we died young. You know what we endured. Remember us, even if history won't. We were your ancestors, your predecessors, your foundation. We were medieval women. We suffered. We died. But first, by God, we lived. However briefly, however brutally, we lived. And that's the end of our journey through the short, miserable lives of medieval women. If you made it this far, thank you for witnessing their stories, their suffering, their strength. These weren't just statistics or historical footnotes. They were real women who loved, lost, endured, and died in a world designed to destroy them. They deserved better. They deserved to be remembered. Now they are, at least by you. Thank you for listening to their silenced voices. Thank you for 2 hours of your time to honor centuries of their suffering. Thank you for caring about the forgotten ones. Remember them when you use clean water, when you survive childbirth, when you own property, when you have rights. Every freedom you have was paid for by their slavery. Every comfort you enjoy was built on their agony. Every year you live past 35 is a victory they never got to claim. They were medieval women. They were stronger than any knight, braver than any king, more essential than any lord. They were ground to dust by history's wheel, but they were the axle it turned on. Without them, nothing. With them, everything. They mattered. They existed. They were here. Now sleep well, knowing your life is infinitely better than theirs ever could be. Sleep well, grateful for modern medicine, human rights, and the radical concept that women are people. Sleep well, and maybe dream of them. The millions of medieval women who never got to dream, too busy surviving one more day in hell. Good night, sweet dreams. And thank God you're not a medieval woman, because now, and that's the end of our journey through the short, miserable lives of medieval women. If you made it this far, thank you for witnessing their stories, their suffering, their strength. These weren't just statistics or historical footnotes. They were real women who loved, lost, endured, and died in a world designed to destroy them. They deserved better. They deserved to be remembered. Now they are, at least by you. Thank you for listening to their silenced voices. Thank you for 2 hours of your time to honor centuries of their suffering. Thank you for caring about the forgotten ones. Remember them when you use clean water, when you survive childbirth, when you own property, when you have rights. Every freedom you have was paid for by their slavery. Every comfort you enjoy was built on their agony. Every year you live past 35 is a victory they never got to claim. They were medieval women. They were stronger than any knight, braver than any king, more essential than any lord. They were ground to dust by history's wheel, but they were the axle it turned on. Without them, nothing. With them, everything. They mattered. They existed. They were here. You know what that really meant. Suffering, silence, survival against all odds, and finally, mercifully, death.